You're listening to The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, your escape to reality.
Hello and welcome to The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe. Today is Friday, December 22nd, 2017, and this is your host, Stephen Novella. Joining me this week are Bob Novella.
Hey, everybody.
Kara Santa Maria.
Howdy.
Jay Novella.
Hey, guys.
And Evan Bernstein.
Hello, everyone.
We are live streaming to our Facebook page from the SGU studios in an undisclosed location inside our starship. And Kara is joining us via subspace.
And satellite feed, right?
Satellite feed, yeah. Hey, Kara.
Exactly.
That's your office, huh, Kara? That's where it all happens?
Oh, yeah, but it's also in a spaceship, if you didn't notice.
Yes. That's why you're wearing the Battlestar Galactica shirt.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I took off the red hoodie.
That's okay.
Now, look, from Kara's planet, dinosaurs are like tiny. Is that
Yeah.
what she's wearing?
Yeah,
That's a full-size
They
Tyrannosaurus
shrink them
Rex.
down.
All right, so hopefully this is streaming to our Facebook page and the audio and everything is working. So as usual, let us know if there's any problems with the audio. And we're going to be monitoring the comments throughout the show. So also, give us your feedback as we go. Tell us what you thought, you liked about this year, your favorite science news item, your
best episode.
All this stuff, the best and worst
Best
of the SGU, about skepticism, everything.
Hero.
Yeah, I guess what we should do, just so the audience knows, we'll say, okay, in this segment, we're going to talk about, the best episode of the year, and then they can comment on it in the feed, and we'll try to get to it.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. So we're going to start with the science news items that rocked 2017. Bob, you want to start? Pick one that you thought was particularly interesting.
There was nothing.
You got nothing?
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
For me, there was a lot of great stuff. For me, the detection of a kilonova was huge on so many levels. Kilonova is basically two colliding neutron stars. We talked about that on one of the shows. It was detected using gravitational wave astronomy, which is a new branch of astronomy that was so transformative and awesome that it got its own Nobel Prize this year. Hello. Mm-hmm. And then they announced this, which is like the total icing on the cake. And this was mega news for many reasons. First off, we used gravitational wave astronomy to see these colliding neutron stars. It's been theorized for years. We never could really detect one. We detected one. But not only that, we also detected, once that was detected with the gravitational waves, then they saw it optically. They saw it in electromagnetic radiation. That's never been done before.
So we got to put up a picture of LIGO because it really helps you understand what's happening. Right, so that is, you're seeing the two paths that the laser beams take, and then they merge at the intersection, and there's interference, right, because light travels as a wave, and right. The interference can be teeny tiny, you know what I mean?
We're talking smaller than the size of a proton. It's unbelievably, unimaginably tiny. So one tiny little squishing of space-time in one direction, and something is up because of the interference between the two laser beams.
Now,
and
Bob,
then if you have other facilities around the world, you could then really focus in on where this is coming from. And because we've got three currently, we knew very precisely where this was, about 130. Yeah. Oh wait, 130 what? Million light years away, I think.
Yeah.
Now, Bob, where are those two laser beams? That building where the two laser beams
where they converge.
Yeah. Isn't it true that time stops in that building? No.
No time stuck.
It's not the science fiction segment.
So this is a new era of what they call multi-messenger astronomy, because we've got messages coming from electromagnetic radiation, which we've had for forever, and now we're adding to that gravitational waves as well. And so this was also, check this out. There was a scientific article published about this, of course. Did you guess how many scientists contributed to that article? 3,600.
Yep.
3,674 scientists all contributed to this description of exactly what happened. It was like 800 institutions contributed. Just a huge event in astronomy, and for me, one of the number one scientific events of the year of 2017.
Definitely.
Huge.
So a listener has asked us a question. They said, Steve, can we see the infamous cell phone holster?
Sure you can.
A fashion request.
Oh my God!
Ooh, yeah.
Terrible, Steve.
Look at it.
That is basically the modern day fanny pack. What's going on with that? Terrible.
No, utility belt. Let's not have to rehash
Whatever.
All right, so one last thing, one new bit from this. They're now thinking they weren't sure what the remnant is from this neutron star collision, because you could have kind of a hyper neutron star, just a really big neutron star. That's possible. And they thought maybe that's what happened earlier, but now they're thinking that it's a black hole. That it looks like the remnant right now is, and it makes sense. Two big neutron stars, you can have a black hole.
Yeah.
So that's what's probably there right now.
So I think this is the year, though. I mean, 2015, right? It was when the first gravitational waves were detected. But this is the year where, like, there's no question now that we know these things are happening on a regular basis. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a rare event. You know what I mean? Now we know that gravitational wave astronomy is a thing.
Absolutely.
As I think gravitational wave astronomy did turn a corner this year.
It really
worth
did.
mentioning.
It's just going to get bigger and better with more of these facilities. They're planning one in space, which is going to be satellites in space. My God, that's going to really add another layer of accuracy and precision. It's just going to be amazing. We're going to really be able to pinpoint exactly where these things are happening and with much more detail. And also, once they get bigger and even more powerful, we can discover other types of gravitational waves like the ones that created by the Big Bang, because we're not there yet. We can't even do that, come close to that yet. But in the future, using this type of technology, we could learn things about the Big Bang that we can't, because right now, because after the Big Bang, it was 300,000 years is when light was kind of set free in the universe, and that's the earliest you could see optically. But gravitational waves were being emitted right after the Big Bang. So we could literally get to like fractions of a second after the Big Bang and find out what was going on. Right now, we have no idea what was going on. I mean, physics, it was infinities everywhere. You don't know what the hell is going on.
So I just think it's cool to think about, but those gravitational waves that were emitted by the Big Bang, you think about the universe is expanding. Wouldn't they all just be on the outer perimeter? I know that from a physicist might be like, oh my God, Jay, I don't know. I just don't understand though. Like, it's not like the waves are coming from somewhere that we can point to in space.
Right, it's coming from everywhere, because we're all like basically the center of the universe.
Yeah,
right?
We're all on that.
It's coming from everywhere, and as the universe expands, it's kind of stretching them out too.
Yeah.
So
like redshift, you mean? Like that
kind of like a redshift.
Okay.
What do you got, Jay?
CRISPR all the way. CRISPR is the only thing that's going to save humanity at this point. This year, CRISPR got sharper, got better. CRISPR can now, first off, we can make more accurate changes to DNA.
Right down to the single nucleotide, right?
Yep. And
it's getting more granular than that.
And we can change RNA now.
Right. And the big bonus for that is that if you make a change to DNA, that's it. Your genome's set. Your great grandkids are going to have that change, good or bad. So the benefit of this is that if it's an RNA, which is kind of like an intermediary step before the proteins are created, right? Then it's transient. It's like, okay, it works, that's great. But if the shit hits the fan, it's like, well, it doesn't matter because this isn't going to affect your kids or your grandkids.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the big concerns about human genome editing is that if it gets into the germline, then you're basically permanently adding all, engineered genes into human civilization, into the population,
But related to that though, Jay, also, 2017 was a banner year for gene therapy in general. The FDA, I think approved, they voted on and approved of, like 3 separate gene therapy, what would you call them? Treatments. For people. Like one was, Luxturna, which is for adults and kids, which, with an inherited form of vision loss that can result in blindness. I mean, and then there's like 2 others that they're also, even this other generic type of gene therapy that's not really based on CRISPR, because I don't think any of that's related, based on CRISPR. It's some other vectors I think they're using.
Someone asked us what happens if it gets in the germline.
Then it gets passed down.
Yeah, then it's there.
That's
it could potentially it could just keep spreading through.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side of that coin, though, if you wipe out some sort of inherited genetic disease in the germline, then that's it. Nobody in your line forever is ever going to have that again.
No more.
Right. I mean,
No more Huntingtons.
you could. I mean, some of these diseases are going to disappear. That's it. It's going to be. It's wonderful. This is
Engineer
huge.
them out.
It's
huge.
Gene therapy is huge, and
Progressing at a
CRISPR
very
is
nice
one of my
pace.
it's one of my favorite technologies of all time. That's a
This
top
isn't
5.
battery storage technology where it's this slow lumbering.
But even CRISPR's. I mean, CRISPR's.
This is accelerating.
Yeah, I mean, CRISPR's not necessarily improving by leaps and bounds, but it is kind of a slow and steady. But man, it's just plodding along.
I think we're on the steep part of the curve still, though, with CRISPR technology. Because battery and solar technology, I follow it very closely. It's this steady, incremental. Like they could tell you, yep, it's going to increase by 1% a year. That's just the way it's been going. CRISPR, it's like, oh, now we're like much more precise than we used to be. Now we can go down to just one nucleotide. I mean, they're learning a lot about it. The technology is dramatically improving. And then it'll level off and get to the point where we're settling into incremental improvements.
Okay, I guess you're right.
It's still, we haven't heard the last of this yet, in my opinion, in terms of just the technology itself, let alone the applications. We're really just getting started with the applications.
Yeah, I mean, isn't China kind of like saying, like human trials with this technology? They're like, I don't care. We're just going to do it.
Right.
Because we're, of course, a little bit more,
concerned about certain.
Yeah, I mean, doing it on people, but
can we say that?
Bob, this is the big one.
Oh yeah,
This is the technology that can make humans immortal.
Not immortal.
I don't know.
Oh no. That's not why we're doing it.
What do you mean immortal doesn't make sense? It makes perfect
Well,
sense.
it doesn't. Listen, no system can be immortal. It just doesn't work that way.
Can stop cells.
I thought aren't there animals that are immortal today?
Yeah, only if they completely rejuvenate themselves. So if you want, your immortality is having children. That's your immortality.
Yeah, there
are like that jellyfish that's immortal
turns itself into a fetus again.
Basically turns itself into a fetus. Because no system can self-sustain indefinitely like that. You just, junk happens.
Jay, don't worry. Nanotech will do that. It's, people will have,
cyborg ourselves.
Incredibly extended lifetimes in thousands. I think, 20,000 years, I think is like a maximum kind of lifespan that people have calculated people can have. Where something
that the gray matter in your brain can maintain.
No, not so much that, but within 20,000 years, chances are within that time you're going to get obliterated by some catastrophe or something. True. But I'll take a few thousand years. I'm fine with that.
I would like to thank our friend Kernan. Kernan has helped the SGU for years with graphics. He's a professional graphic designer. Guy. He did a lot of work for TAM. Mm-hmm. But Kernan has been tirelessly donating his time whenever I cry. Kernan, please, I need this. And he even will see that we're using stuff that he made incorrectly and send us the correct version, which is amazing. But Kernan, thank you so much.
Yeah, he made our logo. He made the Alpha Quadrant 6 logo. He made our robot T-shirt. Yeah, awesome artist. Awesome, love it. We have to thank our families because they put up with the fact that we have 2 jobs. Not Kara. Kara has 1 job, but she travels a lot. But the rest of us have a day job.
I have 1,000 jobs.
We have a day job and a family, and then the SGU is it's almost like a second full-time job. And my wife Jocelyn, Liz, our families, Courtney, Jennifer, all put up with that it's a Friday night before Christmas, and here we are in our studio doing a show. Jocelyn and Liz are right now behind the scenes running our stream.
It's family office.
So obviously there's always any kind of project like this. There's going to be so many people behind the scenes who are supporting what we do.
Yeah, it was funny. We went to see Star Wars, and we did a review of the last Star Wars movie on our new Alpha Quadrant 6 Facebook page, which is our sci-fi channel, right? So my wife was like, the review was great. She goes, you used every single comment that I made driving home when we watched the movie together. I'm like, well, you are a director. I'm like, so Court, what'd you think? And I'm like, oh, that's great. Writing all her ideas down. Yeah, so our family and friends, they support us in more ways than we can even thank them for.
Most definitely.
Yeah, it's also like they are our little intellectual community that we bounce a lot of our ideas off of, and they feed into a lot of the stuff that goes into the show.
All right, so we were talking about how we shouldn't use the word immortality.
Right.
CRISPR is not going to make me immortal, but it could make me live longer, maybe, hopefully, and healthier. Could it make me lose weight? Anything like that's on the table because we're discovering more and more about how genes influence, physiology and how the body functions. And it's like, you might be able to tweak a gene here or tweak a gene there that does have effects like that. You reduce your cholesterol or your blood pressure or more brown fat to burn more calories. Yeah, whatever. That's all plausible. That's all plausible. But the downside is that the body's really complicated and there's the law of unintended consequences, right? So we just have to study it so carefully to make sure there isn't some 3-order downstream effect, that makes you grow, hands out of your ears or whatever. You know what I mean? Just weird stuff. I'm not worried about
it. It's a very creative side effect.
That's hype. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the systems are so complicated that
you have to do net clinical outcome research, to say what is the real effect of this.
Yeah.
Or simulations.
Yeah.
Now we don't know enough to do
that
simulations.
anyway.
Well, of course we don't know enough, but I mean, it's at some point
it may help. All right, my news item for this year is all of the human evolution fossils and stuff that we found. It was one after another. We had the better dating for Homo naledi, for example, the Greekopithecus, which was the fossils that could be a very early human ancestor around the time that we split from the chimps, but outside of Africa. And then there was that was naledi. Then there was the Jebel Inhoud Homo sapiens specimen from 315,000 years ago. So Littlefoot just found recently. Yeah. I mean, there's so many. And what we're discovering, I know we said this a lot on the show, what we're discovering is that every time we find a new piece to this puzzle, we realize, oh my God, the puzzle's bigger. Yeah. We're not just filling in, we're expanding it. And it's like, the relationships are really complicated. Forget any notion of any kind of linear progression. Yeah. Not only is it not a ladder, it's a bush. And not only is it a bush, but the connections are really complicated. And you need lots of pieces lots of puzzle pieces before we can really get a clear image of what evolved from what when. So right now, we're in that part of the discovery where every time we find a new piece of information, we realize that we know less.
Yeah.
The unknown unknowns are still growing, being converted into known unknowns. Right? So the known unknowns are increasing.
In general, though, that's wisdom, right?
Yeah, that's all sciences have to pass through that phase. Yeah.
But it's funny, it's a great mental image because our mom is a great puzzle person. we often will get her, these 5,000 piece puzzle sets, and I'm just picturing her at the table putting puzzle pieces in, and then she puts one in, and then all of a sudden it gets bigger over here.
Like, what the hell? That's invented a video game, Bob. That's pretty cool.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah. Right. Evan, science items this week?
For me, it was the solar eclipse, 2017, August 21st, and I know for Kara as well, this was a huge science event for her. I mean, this is something I've been looking forward to for...
Oh, you were a kid.
Oh, yeah. Decades. All my life, I like to express it. And it finally did happen, as it was expected to certainly happen.
And you had a good view.
I had a fantastic view. Yeah, heading out to Oregon. So
there was my view.
That's the kinetic piece.
Yeah, one of the science photos of the year. Beautiful, beautiful picture.
This one, really?
Yeah.
That is gorgeous.
Gorgeous picture of the sun during the eclipse. You could see the outline of the moon there. And God, it's round.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Take that, flat earthers.
Oh, God.
It really did stir up the population, the American population especially, to the event. What else was really going on in the news for the month, basically, of August, leading up to it? Every day there were new and fascinating stories about the solar eclipse, the history of the solar eclipse, the importance of solar eclipses, what we learned from observing solar eclipses. It became solar eclipse sort of mania all across the country.
There was the path it took across the U.S.
So I talked to a lot of people that saw the eclipse or tried to, and unfortunately there's some sad stories, and there are people going to great locations, being in the optimal path and not seeing it. But I was really blown away. I mean, Iran, our friend from Australia, Iran's story, he told me like a 20-minute story of the whole thing from his perspective. And he's like, it's like a tearjerker.
Mm-hmm.
And I am so committed not to miss the next one, Ev. Like, we have to plan it and get a hotel room or whatever. Like, make sure that we could do this.
Absolutely.
April 8th, 2024.
Yep.
For the United States. There'll be a few others around the world before then, but for the U.S. That's
and so, Carrie, let's definitely get your perspective on the eclipse for this year.
Yeah, I mean, I am so sad that you guys missed it because I know you saw a partial eclipse, but a partial eclipse is not totality.
No,
it's such a different experience. And so I thought I knew what to expect. I read a lot about it. I was really lucky too because I didn't really have strong plans about how I was going to see it. Eventually my friend Tegan and I decided, you know what, screw it. We're just going to drive up to Oregon. We're going to get, into totality and we'll crash with some friends. So we kind of pieced it together last minute. And then I got a call from National Geographic that was like, we're doing this live stream. We're doing it with Airbnb. They're sponsoring it. It's an incredible event where we're going to have some winners of a competition sleep out in the desert under the stars in this geodesic dome. And then our National Geographic pilot and photographer and astronomer are going to take them up in a plane, go out over the Pacific Ocean and try and get some of the first images of the eclipses they come in. Mm-hmm. And we want you to be on the ground with astronaut Terry Virts, and we want you to host a 2-hour stream of the event. And I was like, hell yeah, of course I'm going to go do that. And so I was able to go to one of the most stunning places on Earth, in this beautiful part of Oregon where nobody lives, and experience totality in, I don't know, it was like a really magical way. I mean, it was weird because I was on camera, and so I had to maintain composure to some extent, but I did cry in the middle of the live stream. I couldn't keep myself from doing that, and I really didn't want to. But really experiencing the sights and the sounds and the temperature, like the actual physical sensations that come along with the eclipse, it's like nothing you've ever seen. It's like being on an alien planet.
There's something psychological about that, about something happening in the celestial realm, Like, I don't know, do you guys ever have dreams where there's something happening in the sky?
Yeah.
It is profound.
It is profound. And the experience of the moon blocking the sun, you don't see the moon anymore. It just looks like there's a hole in the sun, like there's a hole in the sky. And the where the light is coming from is very different than what we're used to experiencing. And I don't think we realize it, but when every day the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and when every single day, that time of day looks like that outside, and you have these slow changes that occur with the seasons. And then all of a sudden there's a celestial, I mean, really it was a lunar event, but it felt like a celestial event that makes the sky wrong. It's so
it makes everything wrong.
Shaking.
And it really
touches you deeply.
Like, imagine thousands of years ago how people would have reacted without the knowledge of what was actually happening.
Oh yeah, we all knew what was happening, and still people were like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I hate when the sky's wrong. I mean, it's awesome.
The sky's wrong. That's what happened. And I have to say, unless we're still talking about the eclipse, that there was another really great event this year that we've got to remember. And it happened on April 22nd. Now, every year that's Earth Day on April 22nd, but this year it was the March for Science.
Sure was.
Yeah.
And it was really an important event. A lot of people rallied together. I felt a lot of camaraderie with not just scientists, but science enthusiasts. And again, I had the honor to co-host the event with Derek Muller and Questlove Gomez in Washington, D.C. And it was like really inspirational, really meaningful. I got to interview kids in the audience and ask them why they were there. And they're dressed up as scientists, and, there were roboticists and all of these really great people that I learned a lot from. But even more than that, I think that it was an opportunity to celebrate science in a really unified way, a way that we don't often get to do.
Not nearly enough, right?
Yeah.
We went up to Boston and went to the event there, and it was great. Just great to see thousands of people out, celebrating the awesomeness of science. Just reading all the signs and the T-shirts and everything was great.
Hey, a lot of comments are coming in about lava tubes.
Yeah, a couple, Mars and Moon, have lava tube news. So
that was a fun story to cover. Essentially, huge lava tubes that from what we can glean, they're talking tubes that can hold a city, thousands of people. Yeah. Because like I said on the show, the surface of the moon is deadly. I mean, deadlier than you think. I mean, sure, we were there for a few days, and a few days is nothing. If you're going to stay there for a few months, you need cover. You need to get under that ground, whether you bury that habitat or go into the lava tube. You really need that because it's nasty on that surface. My God, radiation hitting the ground, and then spilling extra radiation onto your feet. I mean, it's just like you're just screwed.
Right. And micrometeorites too.
They'll just take you out like that. I mean, and even if they don't hit you, if they hit over here, the debris it'll throw your way could take you out. I mean, it's just not a fun place. And if there's a
you gotta
solar
be under
flare,
the ground.
If there's a solar flare, forget it.
Good luck running away too.
Yeah, and the same is true on Mars. Yeah. Same is true on Mars. The
atmosphere is
insignificant.
Junk. It's like little spots of some protection.
In the southern
part.
Yeah, you guys seen that TV show about Mars, about colonizing Mars?
No.
The National Geographic show?
I think so. It's just called
the scripted
Mars.
show. Yeah. That was super cool.
Yeah, very good. And they occupy a lava tube, basically, underground caverns.
Smart. Why not?
Well, you have to. Or either that or you need to build a habitat that is that robust. But it's just so much easier to be under.
It's already there.
10 or 20 feet of dirt, or a rock. Absolutely. But we'll be living under the ground on the moon.
I thought you were going to bring up The Expanse, which is my favorite sci-fi show.
Yeah, you're watching it now, right? You're going through it now, right?
Halfway through season 2, and I love it. Characters are great. The storyline is solid. You know what I noticed? Real quick, I know, won't get too deep into it, but the plot moves forward fast.
Yes, I like
They are
that.
not afraid to make things happen. When you ever watch a TV
show
and you're like,
happens.
man, and I won't, I know there's people out there that love Lost. I think there's a person in the room that loves Lost. Lost took forever to get nowhere.
Yeah.
This show, every single show, I'm like, wow, they pulled the trigger on that. They pulled the trigger on that. They kept going. So guys, watch The Expanse. You'll love it.
I have friends who are not science enthusiasts by any stretch or skeptics or really much of anything, and they've seen The Expanse and they love it. They think it's the best show on television.
Wow. It's great television.
It's Game of Thrones in space.
And it's the best sci-fi on television.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
High quality.
It's not as good as Game of Thrones.
But you could see
too different to really compare.
But what they wanted to do, this is the Sci-Fi Channel, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when you think of the Sci-Fi Channel, I mean, you're not thinking of good sci-fi. You're not thinking of good anything really at this point. They wanted to really kind of redeem themselves.
Well, they did.
And they did. And they threw some solid money at this show. Yeah. I mean, many millions of dollars, and you could see it. I mean, the graphics are fantastic. The acting, the writing. This is a dense, complex plot. Mm-hmm. This isn't just like, fluffy sci-fi. Cool,
no, it's hard science. I mean, it's
hard science, which is something that you don't see very much at all.
I love that when you watch the show, you can tell that the writers are science influenced, right? They're saying, okay, we have to do this, we have to do that to keep things making sense and to make it be in the world of physics. They're not breaking the rules. Which is wonderful.
And there's a couple of gimmies here, and that reveal themselves later, and more so later on in the series. But that's fine. Gimmies are every
it's science fiction.
It's science fiction. There's going to be some gimmies here and there, but overall, the science is hard and fascinating.
Yeah. So, guys, what surprised you this year? What was the most surprising thing? Science related or skepticism related? I'll give you mine while you're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of answers to that question.
Yeah. So, I mean, I still have to say that the idea that there are people around today who believe the world is flat still blows me away. It blows me away. And they really do. Every time we talk about people like, they don't really believe it, they're punking you. No. There are people who actually believe it. And it's the power of just a YouTube video is amazing, just to bamboozle people. And so it's a number of things simultaneously, right? It's the power of social media. Mm-hmm. It's the scientific illiteracy. I mean, you can't know what's going on and entertain for even a moment that the world is flat. Yeah. And then the distrust of expertise, of experts, of scientists, of authorities. You need all of those things at pathological levels. All those things have to conspire together. I wrote recently on my blog about the return of Lysenkoism in Russia. That's the same thing. So Lysenko was a total crank, right? This guy, this is early 20th century in the Soviet Union, a complete and total crank who came to the attention of Stalin, and because his ideas about agriculture and biology fit well with communist ideology. He did not believe in genes, did not believe in Darwinian evolution. He believed in the inheritance of acquired characteristics, and he was basically put in charge of agriculture. And his ideas got spread to China and other communist countries, arguably responsible for millions of deaths through starvation, decimated the scientific infrastructure of the Soviet Union, set them back, their genetics back 50 years by conservative estimates.
And it's on the rebound?
And now people are starting to, because he represents Russian culture and was very anti-West. And again, it resonates ideologically. And so he's starting to become popular again, still on the fringe, but like Flat Earth is, but that's like their Flat Earth is like Lysenkoism. Like, really?
That is so scary. And it's, it seems like it's something that happens when we get comfortable.
Yeah.
And we have to be vigilant about that. Do you want to know something kind of interesting about Lysenkoism that I learned this year? Is that the Siberian foxes, the Russian fox experiment that's been going on for, over half a century, was really born not out of Lysenkoism, but the reason that they used foxes for this domestication experiment and not another kind of dog like a wolf or anything else is because they were able to do the experiment without the Russian government catching on under the guise of it happening in the fox trade, because they weren't allowed to do genetic experiments at that time.
Right.
So they were able to use, fur trappers and go to these different fox trade areas and do it kind of under the cover of darkness. And that's how it was born.
Ideology and science don't mix.
Yeah.
Nope.
Very dangerous. That's my go-to example of how bad it can get. And the fact that it's coming back is astounding.
I don't think there could be anything worse than Flat Earth. I mean, that just is an utter denial of
the end game,
of the shared reality that we have. And the excuse, like, I'm too busy taking care of my kids to know what's going on in the world of science. Sorry, it doesn't fly anymore.
Yeah, but that's not even that, Sherry Shepherd kind of ignorance of what's going on. It's like, oh no, NASA is guarding the ice ring around the planet. Okay, but how does this work? It's perspective. No, wait, it's not perspective. I showed a flat earther a picture I took of the moon from Australia, and the moon is upside down.
Compared to
what we're used to seeing in the northern hemisphere.
That, to me, that is the best example.
That's QED.
It's quick and dirty. There's really no way to really misinterpret. Like, here, I took this. Look, the moon is upside down.
Because you're on your head, relatively speaking.
Yes.
Because the world is a sphere.
That was beautiful. You don't need to talk about boats going over the horizon. That picture will do it. I mean, it's simple, quick, easy, and still.
They said it's perspective. I'm like, explain to me the perspective. Here's a drawing. I drew him a picture of why it looks upside down with the spherical Earth model. Show me on the flat Earth how you get to an upside down moon when you go to the southern hemisphere. Nothing. Crickets.
Or how do they explain just the pictures of Earth that have been taken from space? They're all fake.
And if you look,
that's why I used the picture I took.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's just so pernicious, because if you show them a picture, they will take a picture of the Earth, they zoom in and they see clouds. They
pixelated or something.
No, they're not pixelated. They're actually duplicated.
Oh, I see.
And the problem is because they basically, it's a composite.
It's a mosaic.
It's a mosaic. So
it's
it's not a picture of the Earth from so far away you could see the entire Earth. It's really a mosaic. So you have some weird artifacts. Okay, fine. There's artifacts, but there are pictures of the entire Earth that have been taken.
Yeah, there are.
And you will not see any mosaic artifacts on it. But of course,
those are Photoshop.
Those are fake as well, of course.
I'd be curious to see what the reaction would be if you took a flat earther up into a legit spacecraft that got high enough
to see the
to really see what was going on. I think that they would say things like, "Oh yeah, that's not a window. That's a video screen that I'm looking at."
Like, God!
They'd be in total denial.
All right, put him in a suit and have him go out on a spacewalk. Then what would they say? Oh, you drugged me, and
whatever.
I don't know.
It was all a dream.
I reject your reality, right? That's it.
science, they didn't science themselves into that belief. You're not going to science them out of it.
Yeah. So as much of it as a jaded skeptic as I am after 20 years of doing this, I was still able to be surprised at the comeback of that level of reality denialism. It
makes me want to puke.
Yeah, it's just,
I know, right?
Headbanging.
Might help you lose weight, Bob. That's about as good as it gets. What's the next one? What's segment number 2,
something
right?
that surprised me.
A surprise.
Oh,
okay. So for me, this was a science news item. This is TRAPPIST-1. Remember, this was this is the red dwarf that's about as big as Jupiter, more massive than Jupiter. It's close, 39 light years away. They found 7 planets.
Earth size.
3 or 4 of them were in the Goldilocks zone.
Right.
But even the other ones are in a zone where they could still have liquid water. And the thing that really shocked the hell out of me is that if you take all 7 planets and you brought them to our solar system and put them between the sun and Mercury, that's where they are orbiting that red dwarf.
Wow.
Crazy.
Within the orbit of Mercury.
What?
So that means that if you're on any planet and you look, you will see like bigger than the moon, you will see a planet, crescent planets. Can you imagine the view from these worlds?
Does that affect their tides?
Sure. Well, sure. I mean, first off, most of them are tidally locked. So one side is facing the red dwarf. And so sure. I mean, I'm trying to think how far some of them would be. There would be tidal effects, I'm sure, but you're so close to a red dwarf, you're tidally locked.
But that was the first with TRAPPIST. Was the first time I realized, I just hadn't thought about it, that you could be on a planet where you see other planets like we see our moon. Or bigger.
Multiple planets.
Multiple. Can you imagine the vista looking up in the sky and there's multiple planets
saw that in the sky.
in the sky? That must be gorgeous.
Amazing.
So that really shocked me. When I heard that there were 7 planets, I'm like, wow, I mean, that's amazing in and of itself. 7 planets in one solar system. All of them could have life. But to find out that they're all squished into Mercury's orbit.
Check this out. I mean, if Earth was one of those planets, we could use our technology today to see aliens on the other planets. We could just use our
Well, not just that, Jay, because those planets are so close, if one planet has life, probably all of them have life. Because, they would see each other.
Yeah.
They would all see each other. All you need is one good meteorite to throw stuff into space.
They're mixed up,
sure. There's Mars rocks on Earth. There's probably the Earth rocks on Mars and the Moon. So imagine all life, the same basic architecture, but wildly
crumbled
different.
Up into these 7
so
planets.
That means that way, but that's also, their protection, because if one planet blew up or whatever, the other planets would still have life because they self-seeded because they were so close. Mm-hmm. So that one surprised me.
That's awesome.
That was cool.
That
was
is
such
awesome.
a nice icing on the cake.
Just recently, by the way, they discovered the 8th planet in an exosystem. So that's the record now. Number of planets in one system. Same number as ours. 8.
Cool.
I forget which one it was, but yeah.
Until we find Planet 9.
Yeah, Planet 9 from outer space.
Which we also talked about.
Oh, and in case you were worried, the planets, you would think that the planets would crisscross. The planets are actually harmoniously resonant in such a way.
Yeah.
The orbits are feeding off each other in such a way that it makes it very stable.
I
and
see.
they're not going to crash. So that's pretty cool.
Well, that's generally true.
Yeah, even in our
is
solar
that
system,
in any solar system, the bodies that survive for millions or billions of years are in some kind of gravitationally stable orbit.
Yeah,
if it weren't, it would have gone into the sun or been flung out. And it's interesting to think that most worlds that get made in the solar system get flung out of the solar system and they're wandering between the stars as rogue planets. Yeah, there may be more rogue planets out there than planets locked in the solar system.
I wonder if we'll ever be able to grab a rogue planet with some future engine technology and move it and jockey it. Like, I know this is so sci-fi, but I like to think about this interesting idea of, we would take a planet, put it in the opposite side in our orbit than on the sun. So you have 2 planets that are in the same orbit that can
never see each other.
That can house life. Now, you just told me something I didn't know. Adding a planet into our solar system would screw up everybody's orbits.
Yeah, it could.
So it's
could
dangerous.
have some nasty side effects.
Yeah. Okay. So I won't think about that anymore.
But the other cool thing about these rogue planets, not only may there be more rogue planets not bound to any one star in our galaxy than regular planets, not only that, life could exist on these. And you're thinking, well, how could that be? There's no parent star. But I mean, with the decay of metals in the planet, I mean, you've got a heat source. Look, the center of our Earth we're 4.5 billion years old, still hot as hell. It's still as hot as the surface of the sun. So with that decay, you could heat, like the bottom of the ocean would like never freeze.
Or you could be a moon of a Jovian planet and have, tidal heating.
Yep. Tidal heating is another good source. It's funny to think that you could literally have the atmosphere like raining down as snow.
Yeah.
The oxygen, nitrogen, whatever, but under the bottom of the ocean would stay liquid for millions of years.
And we just talked about extremophiles that can survive with very little to almost no light whatsoever, heat source.
Explain that, Steve.
Chemosynthesis. So and added to that is there are probably as many stars floating between galaxies as there are stars in galaxies. So our example of a planet around a star in a galaxy may be the exception rather than the rule when it comes to places where life exists in the universe.
Right. We need some good science fiction that capitalizes on that cool idea. I mean, how creative and unique would that be to have a planet or a star that's not bound to a galaxy or a planet not bound to a star? What kind of life?
Yeah.
I mean, how advanced could you really get, though, if you're in a water-based environment? I guess that's a long discussion.
Right.
But interesting, though.
All right. So let's move on to the best and worst of 2017, including the SGU. So we need you guys to tell us in the comments what was your favorite bit, your favorite interview, the favorite thing that we talked about this year. We have been getting some feedback already. So a lot of people liked our interview with Britt Hermes. I know there's always a bias towards the most recent interviews because that's the ones you remember better. But I think objectively, that was a great interview. It was very interesting. Even though I knew her story, I didn't know a lot of the details.
Plus, she was, we were digging into the emotional aspect. Yeah. What was it like to live through those moments?
And just for the quick background, I mean, you could listen to the whole interview, but she's a former naturopath.
Go listen. We'll wait a little while.
who discovered shortly after, entering practice as a naturopath that her entire profession was a scam. Yeah. Basically, and she had the courage and the fortitude to extricate herself from that at great personal cost. Not easily. And just an amazing, and really brave and heroic story that she had to tell. And so I'm not surprised that a lot of people, connected to that interview and felt how powerful it was.
I also think a lot of times it's much more meaningful for us. I think that it speaks to the nature of the experience more when you hear it from the horse's mouth. When you talk to an anti-vaxxer who then understood the value of vaccination, I think sometimes it can be so much more effective than when you talk to somebody who has always understood the value of vaccination, because there's an empathic angle to it that is sometimes missing. And so for a lot of people, I think Britt's story resonates because they're like, oh, I remember that time when I got acupuncture and I thought it was working, or, I had that person in my life who went to a naturopath, and because she was there, hook, line, and sinker, she was in it. And then she saw the error of her ways and really went to great personal struggle to get out of it. I mean, this woman is so deeply in debt from her educational expenses that she may never be able to study in America again. Mm-hmm. It's intense. I definitely, her story has always spoken to me, and she's become a very good friend of mine as well. Yeah. She's a very cool person.
Massive level of humility that she has. Her worldview had to change. She was engaged with something that was making her feel like a bad person. That was a huge push for her, where I think a lot of people may have continued to ignore it. I think she said it in the interview that they do realize what she came to. Yeah. And they stay because it's their career and it's their bread and butter, so they can't do anything. I was totally impressed, and I'm really happy that she had the nerve to not only do what she did, but to go public with it and to come and allow people to interview her. It's an important story. To me, one of the most important skeptical stories I think I've ever heard. Mm-hmm. Is her whole story. So we're getting a lot of listeners saying that the interview show that we did, I think they're talking about SciCon, right?
Yeah. Well, we did kind of our two live shows, and we got a lot of this feedback in the last couple of weeks as well. A lot of people were saying they really liked the 2 special episodes that we did. These were our private shows, one at DragonCon where we interviewed each other, and then one at SciCon where that was kind of our Halloween special episode. But I think it's really the DragonCon episode where people said they really got to know us personally, and for some reason they liked that. But it was fun for us to do. It was a very good episode, I thought. But I think a lot of people connected to that.
Yep, it was different, insightful in certain ways. There's always something sort of new to learn about each other. I learned something new about everyone that I've known for so long now. Carrie, not so long, but certainly for the 3 of you. Yeah. And that's always, if it's exciting for me, it's, it has to be of interest, I think, to the audience as well.
Yeah, we learned something new about each other after a long time.
And George joined us for the SciCon show, and he did that brothers quiz that a lot of people were mentioning.
Yeah,
that was cool.
That was fun.
That was a lot of fun. And any time I learned something about one of my siblings, Steve and Bob are my brothers. That's mind blowing to me. But there are a couple of questions that George came up with.
It's like we have separate lives.
Yeah, I know. But still, we really know each other really well, so it's fun. George said something like who gets up first, who's the best cook.
Yeah.
And it was fun to think but we all agreed, even from a humility perspective, we all agreed a lot on who, what the truth is and everything. But we disagreed, and that's where it really got fun. So that was a great interview. George, thank you so much. The guy, George Robb is one of the funniest human beings I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
Also, he makes a great professor.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, yeah.
So at SciCon, the SciCon conference in Las Vegas, we all went as the 1970s show Gilligan's Island.
Gilligan's Island, yeah.
60s, and George was the professor.
60s, right.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was cool.
Oh my God. And there was some logistical issues, and we're like, "Oh, is this even going to happen?" We got to make this happen.
Yeah.
Even if it's
nobody knows really.
Even if it's just for a photo shoot.
And we did win the costume contest.
Oh my God!
Yes, we did.
So if you're interested, you can hear that episode on the skepticsguide.org website. You can go into the archive. It was in October, so you just have to scroll down through the archive a little bit, and you'll find that show on there. People are asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look through Facebook to see the pictures of us as a group, right? In that costume, that was.
Yeah,
that one picture's worth a whole thing. Just let's get a picture, please.
All right, but my favorite thing that we did, that I did, that I felt like I was significantly involved in, oddly, is the Star Trek promo that we made for the show.
Yeah.
Right? So the backstory was, we want to do something fun for our listeners. So instead of just saying, hey, become an SGU member, you can go, of course, yes, please become an SGU member. Go to the skepticsguide.org, become a member. You can help support us. But we wanted to do something fun. So we're like, let's come up with these funny promo bits. And we all talked. What should we do? What movies could we riff off of? We come up with a list of all these different ways that we can come up with bits, like a little 30-second or 1-minute commercial we can put on the show that would be entertaining for our listeners. And the first one, we're like, gotta do classic Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
Star Trek, the original series. So I wrote that one with Steve's help. We talked a lot about it. Steve helped me really sharpen everything and get, try to put a lot of skepticism in there. And oh my God, I had so much fun post-producing that whole thing. It was a joy to hear all those sound effects. I have them all memorized.
Jay and I were driving up here tonight, and he played that for me. I hadn't heard it in months. That promo is awesome. Yeah. First off, your sound effects were spot on, perfect.
Well, they're the real thing.
But the way you inserted them at the appropriate time, there's a lot of choices. You could have picked a lot of different sound effects. You picked the perfect ones. But you guys wrote it beautifully because the beats are perfect. It's like nothing was wasted. It was just to me, it was like the perfect promo, and it was hilarious. I thought it was funny.
I thought Carrie did the best job out of all of us.
Yeah, she
I don't even remember what I did.
A captain approaching planet is stupido now. Forward screen now, sir.
Yeah, but Evan's accent was awesome.
Evan pretended to be Scotty, and
I practiced a lot.
But I think it's funny that my favorite thing I did, we do so much stuff for the SGU. I mean, it's nonstop daily work, and to think that thing, which was a throwaway, it almost didn't happen, we almost didn't do any of those promos, but I just loved it. It was the unleashing of the creativity that was fun.
And we might have another one coming up maybe pretty soon.
Yeah.
Well, we've done that one. We did Harry Potter.
which was I
Did
loved
Harry
it.
Potter?
That was
I was
fun.
giggling like a little kid.
That
when we
was
were
fun.
recording that.
And then, did
So
we
much
ever
fun.
do the?
We're
Finish the Wizard of Oz?
We're producing.
We're
it
kind
now.
of. It's
All right, so we did
mostly
the Wizard of
better.
Oz one,
now.
which we're post-producing.
My favorite part of the Harry Potter one was when everyone goes, "That's easy." At the very, very end. I love that. It's awesome.
Hey, if you have any ideas for other themes we could use, I want to do the one I want to write next, because we already wrote and recorded the Wizard of Oz one. They're just doing post-production. I want to do one based on Full Metal Jacket.
Oh yeah,
Well, you're the
I'm the drill sergeant. Oh yeah, that's going to be so
Who
much
said that?
What is your major malfunction?
How are we not?
Oh, I
share
really,
that?
really want to do a Simpsons promo.
Oh yeah, that was,
We
that'd
have
be
to
good.
do a Simpsons.
Oh, we're gonna
promo.
get 100 suggestions.
Yeah, I wonder if they would let us use their music though.
that's the problem we ran
That's
into in
Matt.
Wizard of Oz, right? You couldn't have, there was no music.
That's right.
Yeah,
Harry
we-
Potter
yes.
had a problem, but Jay solved that one. I
We
mean,
use it
that's-
Harry
Yeah,
Potter.
I got a Harry Potter rip-off music.
Yeah.
Somebody just asked, where can they see our Star Wars reaction? You can go to facebook.com/Alpha Quadrant 6.
The number 6.
We have a 1 hour and 7 minute, I believe, Star Trek
Yeah.
review where we took the gloves completely off. I went off the rails. I really did.
You were animated.
I was nuts that night. I was pissed, happy, and
at
everything.
night.
So
It's also on our YouTube channel, the
Yeah.
Skeptics Guide YouTube channel. Yeah.
yeah, and other listeners right now are typing in, they want to see Futurama. They want us to do a Star Wars promo.
Oh, Star Wars would be great.
Yeah, I'm going to read through
Yeah.
all these comments after we're done and write them all down. But yeah, keep sending ideas in, guys. Movies, TV shows, moments in history, right? Could be something
sure.
there.
Yeah.
Iconics.
Yeah.
It's fun, yeah, because we like to do scripted bits like that.
Yeah.
And this is something, small little nuggets that we could sink our teeth
Different
into.
and fun.
Any other comments about best and worst of the year?
On our show or in general?
And yeah, anything. What was
I
the
mean, there were
best
so
thing?
many terrible things this year.
This has been a rough year.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
How much time do we need to spend on this,
Somebody-
on the depressing
yeah, it was
part?
a hard year.
Somebody suggested an alien porno. Oh wait, promo. Sorry. Sorry.
Oh man. Ba-dum.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, science has taken a massive hit this year. It's been very hard to keep up with the news and everything that's going on.
We'll survive.
Yeah.
We'll be fine. This is a speed bump, but it is disheartening, to take that one step back, when you're trying to take 2 more steps
All right,
forward.
2 people came in with awesome ideas.
smart.
Get
Get
smart
smart.
and Rick and Morty. Oh my God,
Rick and
Morty could be amazing. Oh, we're gonna do it.
Rick and Morty.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
yeah.
Would you believe a 1 to 3,000 dilution? Yeah. Get smart. I love Get Smart. That's one of those shows. Like,
To this day, Steve and I.
yeah, but it's also one of those things that I quote to my daughters who have never seen it. Like all these Get Smart quotes. And, yeah, they don't realize until they're older and they finally get exposed to it that I've been quoting it all of these years.
Yeah.
I love it.
The best example of that was Monty Python and the Holy Grail. When they saw that movie for the first time, it's like every 10 or 15 minutes they look at me like, oh, that's where you got that from.
Yeah.
I quote that movie just as part of my vocabulary,
Yeah.
you know?
That happened to me when I first listened to Adam's Skeptics. Douglas Adams.
Douglas
Hitchhiker's
Adams.
Guide.
Hitchhiker's
Which
Guide.
I listened to that.
I thought you were having an aneurysm.
No, Skeptics Guide, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I listened to that, and I'm like, holy crap, my best friend, Larry Fitzgerald, his entire humor is based off of this series. And I thought he was hilarious, but no, he's just totally ripping off Douglas Adams.
We all do
Everyone's
it.
a ripoff.
my
We
God.
all do it.
Yeah, of course.
There are
That's the old trope.
inside jokes that we all have as friends. Carrie, you've been on the show 2 years. You're already picking up on a ton of our inside jokes. Kara's always like, "What's that from? Why are you laughing? Why is that from?" Time Bandits. Yeah, right.
Bandits.
But Kara's actually so infused at this point. She's starting to like do the stuff that we do. But there are bits
She's
that
being
we have.
assimilated, yeah.
Like we'll have a joke, and it'll occur to me like, "Where's that from?" we have no recollection of the source of the joke. It's just a thing that we say.
So disconnected from the original.
Some of them we just
Yeah, and
can't
sometimes
place
it doesn't even sound like it. Like you guys will tell me what it's from, and then I'll listen to it and be like, "It has evolved so much."
Yeah, that happens too sometimes. We make it
Our
better.
mushy brains.
We can't help but make it better.
Because now 300 is 100, it's 500, it's anything 100.
So, you know what I want to do? When we start the podcast recording every Wednesday, for some reason we have all developed this thing where Steve goes, "Okay, we're going to start recording in 3, 2, 1,
No,
1, 2, 3, record.
And we all hit record, and right then we all freak out.
We test our audio.
Yeah, we're like, like it's like everybody does
check.
their own weird shit, and I want to
Wait, here's my Steve impersonation. Testicles, testicles.
and it's funny every time, even though it's been happening for so long. I want to take a montage of like 30 or 40 of those and expose them to our premium members.
The clean ones.
I only trust our premium members because these are opinion-changing audio pieces.
You never look at us the same way again, or listen to us the same way again.
Yeah. Maybe when we end the show, we'll put that up as like one of the last posts.
We did get, so in getting back to like the favorite bits, we got a couple of mentions for our in-depth discussion of the historical Jesus, which I like that bit too, because that was one, there are every now and then, we get to a topic where it's like, okay, I have to take a deep breath and take a step back and say, I got to like do a deep dive on this for weeks and like really wrap my head around this before we can talk about it. And that was one where I'm like, I sort of know this, but I feel like there's a layer of scholarship here that I need to dig down to before I think I could talk about this fairly. And then, sometimes it works, sometimes we don't get quite there. But I thought that was one where we got to a good place. It was a great discussion. We had really good reaction to it. So I agree with that as a vote. I think the net neutrality one, the second time around, was a similar topic.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about net neutrality, and then we got a lot of listener feedback on that. And then we all went back in and did some more research, and we found out that, it is actually amazingly complicated.
Who knew?
Yeah. No, but it's not like...
They don't get less complicated, they get more complicated.
It's hard to talk about topics like that. Even our show, which is very long, the podcast is an hour and a half. After post-production, it's an hour and a half. We record about 2 hours and 15 minutes. And we do that partly because we don't know when to shut up.
2 hours and 15 minutes on a good day.
Right, Kara? I know, there are nights, I was just saying this last time we were recording, I was telling these guys, there are nights where like, my ass hurts so bad. I'm sweaty. I'm hunched over. I'm like, I'm going to bed. I'm like, I'm 200 years old. I can't even walk. And then remember we were talking about the foot cramp? Like we get a foot cramp and you can't walk. You're like, oh my God, I can't even walk anymore. I can't walk. That's how hard it is to record this podcast. But Steve whittles it down. And even still, like even when we put in as much as we could about the news item, the net neutrality, it was a whole second news item just to get it to the point where, we did talk about it enough. Yeah. But, the lesson for us is always, like, we always read our listener feedback. We always are willing to sharpen the pencil and go deeper and infuse more. And Steve Harris, who is a friend of the show, we've talked about him. Steve was giving us dozens of emails, like schooling us on the whole thing. I
remember when we were interviewing Christopher Hitchens, and he said that you write your piece about a topic, and then all the people that you should have spoken to come out of the woodwork and contact you with the information. Sometimes we have to do that. It's like, okay, we're going to give an overview of this topic, and then the world experts who happen to be listening to our show are going to contact us and give us the real information. Yeah. And then we'll go deeper the next time we deal with it. So sometimes that's like, that's just part of the process of getting to the information that we need,
And it's great because sometimes layers are revealed that you're like, holy crap, this is way more complicated than I thought it was, and even if you had a decent understanding of it, the experts are still laughing. Like, really? I mean, come on. It's
the thing is,
they live it.
Right. The thing is, we know that's the case when we're dealing with physics and astronomy. Sure. We know that's the case. We have again, there's always like the known unknowns and the unknown unknowns.
Right.
So we know enough about science topics that we are enthusiasts about. We're not experts, but we know enough to know what we don't know. But then there are topics where we don't even know what we don't know. And that's what we learn when we talk about it on the show. whether we plan on talking about it or not. And then people contact us at least to give us an idea of what we don't know. You know what I mean? So
and they'll often say, you guys were right as far as you went, but look at these other layers underneath that really blow your mind, and they often do.
That's a science communication challenge, because even when I know those layers, they're like, even though I'm talking about a neurological topic where I know all the layers, it's like, how deep do I go when I'm talking about this topic? You have to make decisions about what's an appropriate level of complexity.
That's why I throw a lot of qualifiers. Yeah. Like, all right, you got to throw these qualifiers in there because you can't make absolute statements because you will be called on those absolute statements.
To the best of my recollection, Senator. Right? That's something we should say.
Or they call me to talk about taxes. It depends. Like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P.
You have to be humble too. We don't have all the answers. We're researching and doing the best we can to understand and digest everything. A lot of the stuff we talk about, even though we have a historical perspective on it, we're learning as we go every week.
Absolutely.
I got to tell you, the best education of my life has been this podcast, because I read dozens of news items and have to, wrap my head around stuff I never thought I would even try to wrap my head around. I mean, Bob, your physics education is amazing at this point. It sucks. I know it's not like you have a formal education, but you've developed a aptitude for it.
It's good for like a layman's understanding, sure, but I mean, I just can't help but think of people who really.
You talk to Brian Weck, and you're like, I don't know it.
Yeah, but I can communicate the interesting superficial stuff, but there's so many. I mean, just the mathematical layers underneath what I talk about. It's like, whoa, that's so intimidating. Yeah. But we'd put everyone to sleep if I was talking math. So it's hard.
Or maths.
Or math.
If you're in the UK
I mean, if I could just get somebody interested in a topic without making horrible mistakes, I'm happy.
Right.
So before we move on, I want to go over some of the best science pictures of the year. I came across this when I was doing my research. Actually, I think this picture is not from this year, but we didn't talk about Cassini. Cassini
that's right.
did its death dive into Saturn. Cassini! And, so the science that probe, this is a probe to Saturn, accomplished over its lifetime. We talked about it at length, but that was one of the big science news stories of the year. And then
even its death produced a lot of great science.
The data is still producing, great, science. We learned recently that the rings of Saturn are younger than they thought, a lot younger, like they might only be a few 100 million years old. And so, whereas previously they thought they were very old. And the reason did we talk about this on the show? But
not much.
I'm trying to remember
not much.
That one of the bits of data that the Cassini got for us was, measuring the amount of basically soot that is accumulating on the rings from the outer solar system. And we know the rate at which it's collecting. We know how much is there. Cool. We could know how old the rings are, and they're only a few 100 million years old. So, that's an actual picture of Saturn with the sun behind it. So the sun's coming through the rings. It's just a gorgeous picture.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I'm going to pull up a couple more that just were great science pictures of the year. These are from Nature, by the way.
What?
Whoa!
What do you think that is?
Steve's cute.
Whoa! Bob wants it.
Oh my God! That is a vent. That's a vent.
Is that an extreme?
No, that's a fish.
I see teeth.
In that left, the orange circle on the left, there's clearly a face in there looking out of that hole.
I can see it. It looks like Steven Spielberg.
It's a fish.
It's Steven Spielberg.
It's not a fish.
No, it's some sort of.
Carrie, do you have a guess?
I can't see it.
You can't see it. I'm sorry.
There it is. Okay, it's full screen now on my Facebook stream. Okay, so it's not a fish. It's microscopic.
Right?
Like that. That looks like a scanning electron image, but I'm not sure what it's of.
That is a.
Is it a tardigrade face? No, it can't be.
It's a pork tapeworm.
Of course.
What? I was going to say like a nematode,
Guys, I probably have like 3 of those right now.
Is that a mouth though?
Half the population have these things?
I ate a lot of pork when I was in China.
A lot of people have these.
That's an evil looking critter.
So we should kill every single one of those. No, I don't want that. I'll tell you the worst thing that happened to me this year. That finding out that my brain is pulsating and throbbing like a wet fish in a freaking
that was so
oily
funny.
sack. God. I mean, I'm not kidding. Like, you think I'm joking? I don't want to hear about shit like that. I don't want to know. I don't need to know that.
Your brain is wow.
Oh my God.
What do we got here?
Pile of goo.
Isn't that a beautiful picture?
It's beautiful. That is a
Beautiful.
multicolored pen squirting out all its ink at the
For
same
a second, I
time.
those. Thought it was like a fractal bifurcating.
So,
crystal, but no.
Essentially, it's using an electric field in order to pull filaments out of a liquid. So that's what you're seeing.
Filaments of what?
Filaments. So I think the liquid is to the far left, and then the filaments are in between, and you can see the electrical, fields, electrical currents pulling those filaments out of the liquid.
Yeah, okay, that's great.
Yeah, so it's a way of making
That's cool.
making filaments. Yeah, pretty cool.
Right.
Very pretty.
Wow.
What else you got, Steve?
What else do I have? Those are the pretty. Here's I wanted to show you this one. So this is part of the human evolution.
Go. I mean, this is how I feel when I wake up in the morning.
That's how you look.
Where are my teeth?
So that is. You guys know what that is?
It's a skull. It's a human skull.
Is that the Hobbit?
It's not a. It's the Hobbit.
Yes.
It's the Hobbit. Homo floresiensis.
Floresiensis.
So this has been an ongoing debate. Is it a diseased Homo sapiens, or is it its own species? These are creatures from the hominids from the island of Flores. And this year there was more data pushing us in the direction that it probably is its own species.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So another
Steve,
branch to the human family tree.
Don't answer this. What were those two holes right here in the skull?
Sinus cavities?
No, I know. There's a nerve goes through there. I don't remember the name of
No,
it.
you're good. You're right.
Somebody wrote in, that's Snokes.
That's
He wasn't that good looking.
Someone else wrote, that's my ex-wife.
Oh no, that's so
I
sad.
know, right?
Wow. Venting all kinds of stuff.
Precious.
So, that guy clearly knocked out his front teeth too. That's a painful situation.
Well, if you're living in the wild,
Yeah.
you don't have teeth at 40 or 50.
Yeah.
If you're not prior to modern hygiene, right?
I love my teeth.
What was that movie where the guy's like a period movie and he's saying, oh yeah, with regular brushing, you could keep your teeth well into your 40s,
Mel Brooks.
We were talking about that, right? We were saying like these period films, like the one thing they absolutely get wrong is like no one would have those teeth. Right. Sorry.
Look at the teeth on any of these.
I feel like any movie Tom Hardy is in, they give him really messed up teeth.
Yeah.
But
sometimes they get it right.
Everybody's mouth would be like a brigand's mouth,
Oh yeah. And it's so gross in those old movies, and people are like making out and they just put their mouths next to each other. I'm like, nobody did that back then.
No.
Yeah.
Nobody did that. It would be disgusting.
Yeah.
That's true. That kissing is actually a fairly modern phenomenon.
Really?
Prior to modern hygiene.
That's too bad.
Yeah, people didn't do too much of that. Yeah.
I like it.
You can see why.
Kissing is wonderful.
I would love to see a period film, documentary or whatever, that was 100% realistic and accurate. Like, how medically messed up was just like, did everyone have boils and
Were
scars?
they dripping and
You know
crap?
what
That's
I mean?
why
How
I
bad was it?
loved The Nick and was so sad when it went off air, because I feel like as much as there's a lot of stuff in that was heightened and more exciting, the medical stuff was super gross and pretty realistic. Right, Steve?
Yeah.
Rusty knives.
Yeah. I mean, they made a lot of stuff happen right in one time and place that happened over a much longer period of time. So they always do that for narrative, as a narrative device,
Yeah.
But, the general ideas were all pretty legit.
And it was horrifying.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, hospitals in the 19th century were torture chambers. I mean,
And disease factories.
yeah.
Bloodletting.
That's what they're going to say about our hospitals.
Oh,
in
that's
100
right.
years.
Well, that's why when McCoy said in
I hope
that
so.
Star Trek movie, what is it, the Dark Ages?
Yeah. It's the Inquisition. Yeah.
I have like a nightmare of like World War I or probably the Civil War where they were like sawing people's legs off.
Oh, God.
No,
stiff drink and hold them down.
No, they stick a piece of wood in their mouth and just go for it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Nope.
You just hope that you pass out from the pain.
Just pull a Kevin Costner and say, screw you, and put a boot on and walk away.
Loved Robin Hood. No, I didn't.
All right. Is it time for Skeptical Hero and Skeptical Jackass of the Year?
Yes.
Sure.
Who wants to start?
Well, Steve, you claimed the biggest jackass.
Who's that?
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's mine.
Yeah. I mean, Goop and the whole thing with Gwyneth Paltrow this year, what a travesty. I mean, she dove head first into the a-hole swimming pool. I mean, big time.
This is of course with Goop, which is her like modern lifestyle brand. They actually won the Rusty Razor Award for worst pseudoscience.
Yeah.
This year. And what really pisses me off, it's like essentially they're just making shit up to sell stuff and make money. That's the worst.
The NASA stickers.
The worst.
Right?
Yeah, the Goop stickers. It's just magic. So this was like just such a brazen example of throwing all morality and ethics to the wind and saying, we're going to market nonsense and pseudoscience mainly to women too. I mean, but to everybody, and just to make money. And it's just going to be, and then, we're going to tell them horrible medical advice. We're going to promote cranks and quacks and, and anti-science and medicine, all as a lifestyle brand. Yeah, pseudoscience is a lifestyle. So she totally gets my vote for Jackass of the Year with her Goop sticker.
I don't know what she really thinks or believes.
She doesn't. Like, in interviews when people ask her point blank, like, do you believe in this? She's like, I don't know.
That's right.
Like, she doesn't think that deeply about it, I don't think.
Maybe not.
And I have to say that I feel like what she's doing with Goop is really not that different than what Alex Jones does with InfoWars.
Yeah, very good point.
It's just a much prettier package. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and that's yours for this year, right? Alex Jones?
Yeah, he's on my list. Certainly Alex Jones, he stirred up a lot of controversy and things this year. I know we talked about it. Is he actually playing the character of Alex Jones? Or is that who he really is? And it all came about as the result of the lawsuit and the divorce.
I think it's pretty clear. My opinion is it's an act. He doesn't believe anything. He basically, again, he's targeting a vulnerable population, vulnerable in that they're gullible, right? He's like, I know what I'll do. I will, talk to the conspiracy theorists because they're easy marks, right? And then, essentially he develops a conspiracy and then sells a product that's geared towards the conspiracy.
Yes.
Right.
And it's pretty clear he's just a snake oil salesman and everything else is his shtick. And he basically admitted it. This year. And
it ties in actually to Gwyneth Paltrow, actually, because there's this one article I found in which her name is Amanda Bacon. She's the founder of wellness brand Moon Juice.
Moon Juice?
Moon Juice, that's a brand. Okay. Yep. Alternative medicine ingredients in her products are sold, very different branding. They sell the same stuff on InfoWars website as they do at Goop. They just change the marketing around to satisfy the audience. It's the exact same potions and nonsense.
Genius!
Their connection.
Right.
Wow. Yeah,
Jones and Paltrow.
I've really got to thank John Oliver, though, because, this Jones guy, I mean, you think you know him, right? Yeah, he spouts all this crazy stuff, and does he believe it? Does he not believe it? But I didn't realize until I saw John Oliver's episode, Last Week Tonight, right? Saying that they looked at the whole thing, the whole gestalt, and they're like, he spouts nonsense, but it's really a tie-in.
To
the selling all of his snake oil. And it put a completely new spin on him. Now he's not just some crazy conspiracy theorist. This guy is a huckster.
He's a con artist.
Money, and that's wow, I did not know that. I did not know that until Oliver clued me in.
And I'm happy you brought Oliver up because listeners wrote in saying he's the skeptical hero of the year, and he is for me, without a doubt.
He does a great job. He does a great job, generally speaking, of doing a good, in packaging a good talk about a lot of these topics. And a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago, there was a survey. They asked people, like, where do you get your news from? And then they asked them questions about current events. The best informed viewers were John Oliver's viewers. The worst, of course, were Fox News viewers.
And
on that survey.
John Oliver would be my number one interview. I'd love to talk to him.
I'm trying to figure out how to get him. That would be.
If anyone has it in, let us know.
Yeah, let me text him now. See if he's busy.
When we used to watch Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert, They were on Comedy Central, and so they had to deal with some more censorship than I think John Oliver gets to have on HBO. And I think that they've all of these guys have historically done a really good job of educating the masses in those respects. But I think John Oliver, even though, none of this is like truly original reporting, he does repackage reporting a lot that's like, PBS, like really high quality, like frontline recording and stuff. But what he does so well is message in a really skeptical way. Yeah. Like, here's what you thought you knew, but let me show you why it's so much worse than that. Yeah, and he has been a champion of a lot of skeptical issues. Yeah. And it kind of surprised me because I don't know if he would even consider himself a skeptic or know that he is one.
He talked about p-hacking.
Yeah.
P-hacking on his show. That's the only other place that I heard about p-hacking outside of science-based medicine literature. You know what I mean? So
what if one of his writers listens to SGU?
I suspect that he has one or more of his writers are plugged into the skeptical social media.
Yeah. I think so.
I mean, especially with the p-hacking, I'm like, they had to read that on science-based medicine. I mean,
who else is popular?
Would they get that? I mean, I guess they could have read about it in a Nature article or something.
Yeah, or Scientific American. People have written about it, but it definitely is in like a total nerd, area for sure.
It's in a sliver.
Oh yeah,
he definitely got it from SGU.
Totally got it right.
But don't forget, he's not just packaging these great little news item nuggets. Don't forget, he's hilarious.
He's hilarious.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
When you can package something that's correct and skeptical and accurate and funny, I mean, that's like that's a holy grail. Yeah. I mean, you're going to suck in people. They're going to remember it.
Yeah.
They're going to believe it. If you could do
that's a staff of writers, by the way.
But that's also, I say that not to denigrate him because, the first line is the really good investigative reporting. It's the ProPublica. It's the, front line. But then what John Oliver does so brilliantly is he editorializes on top of that in a way that really speaks to people. So when you watch it, you're like, I get it. And you didn't have to watch an hour-long dry documentary. Yeah. You could watch this really funny thing that took 30 minutes and walk away being so much more enlightened.
Right. He covers stuff that's not easy to cover.
Exactly.
It blows my mind that the world is so weird today that this is a show that is, it's entertainment. It's comedy and entertainment.
He's a comedian.
Yeah. That happens to be relevant. Like, remember we used to joke around, the Stewart's show, like that's the best news show on TV. Remember that was a joke at the time.
Fake news. Yeah.
Right.
And he would actually
this is actually a comedy show that's right, I'm sorry. This is a comedy show that is a news show that is probably one of the best sources you can go to learn about stuff. I mean, it's ironic. It's very strange to me.
But I doubt that he would support that message.
No.
You know what I mean?
He's always very clear to say, I'm just a clown. I'm a buffoon. Don't take me seriously. He's very self-deprecating in that way, which is a great strategy in and of itself. Because whenever anyone makes fun of him or criticizes him or insults him, he just owns it. He ups them. He goes, I'm a buffoon.
Yeah.
And then his team, orchestrates these brilliant campaigns, like these Twitter hashtag campaigns, or these letter writing campaigns.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they actually have an impact, which is super cool.
Yeah, that is awesome.
I love him to death.
All right, so I think we hit the top and the bottom.
No, but Evan, you were going to mention a different,
what do you got, Ev?
Hero.
Yeah, I'm gonna nominate the Heroes of the Year as the Science Moms. Now, we were fortunate enough to be able to say hello, meet some of them when we were out at the convention in Las Vegas just a couple months ago, and a documentary was made titled Science Moms. And from what Harriet Hall, I'll just read you a few of her comments about it. In the documentary, a group of scientists and science communicators who are also moms address misperceptions created by misinformation in the media about GMOs, vaccines, and other issues important to parents. With this documentary, people have another resource based on science, a resource that is easily digestible and compelling. Natalie Newell is the director, Alison Bernstein, Anastasia Bondar, Coven Senapathy, and Jenny Splitter are the science moms. And I know, Carrie, you had a chance to actually sit down with them and be involved in the panel discussion.
Oh yeah. And I've interviewed, some on my other podcast, and I've, gotten to know some of these women really well and want to continue the conversation. And I think that, like I mentioned earlier about Brit, there's something that is really effective and really meaningful when the person who is talking to you about an issue is one of yours.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes, no offense, Steve, an old white dude who's a doctor who can tell you all the things that he knows might not reach certain people. But another mom who's like, I understand why you don't want to eat GMOs, because I understand the fear about the stuff that we're putting in our kids' bottles, but this is what I learned and I'm on your team, can be really effective. Yeah, and so I think it's super cool that they took up that cause.
Especially, and moms are parents are another vulnerable population, because parents are freaked out. They're scared. You are put in charge of this human life, and you're living in a society where you're being scared every day, and your relatives, your friends, your coworkers, your acquaintances come out of the woodwork giving you horrible advice. We get emails probably every day from listeners who are like, I got this thing going on and people are telling me this and I don't know what to believe. It's overwhelming. Yeah. So absolutely. They need targeting young parents, young mothers who are being scared. They are being scared to sell them snake oil. So they need, I think, targeted skepticism and science communication. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, skeptical parenting, right? I mean, you have to, it's hard enough to be a good skeptic, but then when you add the layer of parenting, and there's so much crap out there, and it's so easy to make bad mistakes. And I said this, I talked about this at Nexus last summer. You are emotionally vulnerable when you have kids. Mm-hmm. And, logic, your lizard brain and your cerebral cortex are at war with each other during those decisions. It's like you got to keep your cool. You got to think about what's going on. There's a methodology to it. Find a good doctor. How do you do that? Your kids as soon as you start getting your head wrapped around that, your kid's going to, daycare. What do you do? It's a never ending stream, literally up until they move out at some point.
Yeah, we get emails all the time, and it's so frustrating. It's like, what do I do? Yeah. And there is no rule book. There's no one right thing to do, but it must be so difficult when you're at your wit's end and you're like, every time I take my kid to my mother's house, his grandmother's house, she's trying to, put pseudoscience in his head. How do I handle that? It's like, ooh.
It's right up there. The other major vulnerable population that we deal with is people who are sick or have family members who are sick. Because that's, again, when people come out of the woodwork with the pseudoscience. They're trying to be helpful, but they put a lot of pressure on people who they're trying to deal with an illness, and then people are trying to guilt them into trying horse shit. And it adds so much stress. We've heard from so many people about how much more stress it adds to their lives when they're trying to deal with it. Yeah. Just leave them alone with your, inexpert medical advice. Seriously. Don't pretend you're a doctor. Just don't. You're not going to help anybody. You may think you are, but that's hubris. That really is. That's where the humility has to come in. You are not an expert. This is really hard. Medicine is hard. You need a lot of very, very rarefied information, and you need to spend years learning how to think about it in a meaningful way. And then even then it's hard not to make mistakes. It's hard to keep up with everything you need to do. Again, this is sort of the denialism, pseudoscience that we deal with all the time, where the biggest disconnect that people have with reality is thinking that they know more than the hundreds or thousands of experts who have spent decades of their life dedicated to studying this topic. Yep. We got an email from a creationist, not to pick on them, but again, these casual opinions about the evidence. Like, there are no transitional fossils. Really? You really think that you know more than all the scientists who have spent decades studying this?
Yeah, didn't they say paleontology is more of an art than a science?
Yeah, you just don't know. You do not know. And again, and we know that's something like I know a lot about, as much as any non-expert can. I'm not obviously a paleontologist. I'm a massive enthusiast about evolution and paleontology. So it's one of those things I feel like I know a lot as a layperson.
And without humility, your level of knowledge in it is dangerous.
Well, I mean, right? The thing is, I know enough to think that without the humility, the generic humility, I could think that I actually know what's going on. Yeah. But I realize I don't. I just try to understand what the experts think. They're the ones who are allowed to have opinions because they know, they're in the technical literature, right? And then they're summarizing it for a layperson. I'm just trying to understand as much as I can that the experts are summarizing for me.
Right. But same as that with me when I'm talking about some of my science stuff. It's like, I'm not making up some new ideas. Here, check this out. I'm like, no, this is a summary of what the experts who know their shit, what they're saying. And that's a lot of what we do.
That's what we've been seeing decay, though. That's what's going on in society.
But you could know enough at that level to know when someone is completely talking out their ass. Like, I'm sorry, but you have absolutely no idea what the evidence is. Now, we'll see. I'm just beginning a conversation with this person. We'll see if they're just misinformed. I suspect that may be the case. But,
Sorry, Steve, I'm so distracting. But
I know you're killer.
There's no live stream without a killer.
Look at that dog. Oh, I want to hug him. So I have to fly to California to hug that.
Never share a screen with an animal or a kid.
Yes.
Because the entire, comment thread is now just killer.
I don't even remember what Steve was talking about 10 seconds.
No, I don't either.
He is adorable.
Hi, guys.
How old is he?
What?
How old is he?
One?
He is 7 years old.
Oh, he looks like a puppy.
Can you believe that? I know he's my perma puppy.
That's neoteny.
And I love him to death.
I love neoteny.
Absolute, pedomorphism right there.
I like the long hair.
Right there.
Pedomorphism, cool word.
Your dog Murray used to have long
hair. The miniature dogs.
My wife Courtney and I decided, we have 2 kids, right? 5-year-old, 2-year-old, and we're like, it's time to get a dog. Sorry. We're getting dogs. Okay. One or more, probably 2. Yeah, and we talk about it, and we're super excited, and I can't wait.
Yeah,
I absolutely can't wait.
Yeah.
What kind?
One of them, without a doubt, is going to be a standard black poodle.
That's you're just sticking with that.
That's my favorite dog in the world.
Yeah, we had one growing up, and we all loved them, but I always want a different kind of dog.
Yeah, me too.
Like our current dog is like 13, 14 years old. It's going to be sad when he goes, but the bright side is we get to get a new dog, but
you
have to think about it that way.
Dogs.
You have to think about it that way. The best way to treat, being depressed over losing a pet is to get another one. But I don't want to.
I threw some chuckles.
That's what the experts say.
Yeah, both of Steve's daughters are
like, what is he saying? But I want to get a new kind of breed that I've never had before.
Why?
Yes, I agree with Steve.
I don't know. My wife wants. But we had a miniature long-haired dachshund who was adorable. I love that dog, but I had that experience.
Murray,
well, I'm also really. I never ever get purebred dogs just by like killer. People are asking what breed he is. I have no idea. We say he's a dachshund Chihuahua Spaniel mix. I got one of those dog DNA tests. I don't know how much I trust it because it says he's like 40% poodle. It also says that his parents were too genetically similar to not be siblings.
Okay.
Which is like, ooh, rough. But but you know what? I don't know. It's how he got his special brand of cuteness. But the truth of the matter is when you adopt a dog from a shelter, you get this like really interesting, cool creature that was not made for you in a puppy mill and was, had a really rough life, and then you get to give it a new life. And the cool thing about going to a shelter to look for a dog is there's a dog there that'll speak to you. Yeah. And you don't have to go out looking for something in particular. You just go and see which ones speak to you.
Yeah. All of our animals came from the shelter.
Yeah. It's so good, isn't it?
None of my dogs can speak. That's pretty cool.
I know. See, shelter dogs can speak. It's amazing.
I went from a white dog to a black dog. I like to have a lot of differences so that there's no bleed through.
This isn't a show about dogs, but I could go into details about why a standard poodle is the dog.
Well, you're right. It's not a show about dogs. So,
sorry.
All right.
Stole the show.
Should we do in memoriam?
Yeah.
In memoriam?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. All right. So, we lost Eugene Cernan this year. You guys remember who that is?
Cernan.
The last human being to step foot on the moon.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's sad that it's been so long.
Yep.
How much longer is he going to have that title of the last human on the moon?
Probably not too much longer.
I hope
another generation.
Who would know?
I think.
Paul Weitz, who was the first commander of the Challenger, another NASA alum, also died this year. H. Boyd Woodruff. He did the foundational research that allowed us to harvest antibiotics from soil, which is a huge. We talked about this on the show before. It's a huge source of antibiotics because bacteria, soil bacteria, make antibiotics to fight off other bacteria, right? And in fact, we talked recently, like in the last year or so, about new techniques, basically figuring out how to culture soil bacteria better, which might really enable us to harvest a lot more antibiotics from the soil bacteria.
Hurry up! We need it right away. What are you waiting for? We're dying. Mildred
Dresselhaus, was she a forgotten superhero? Yeah, so fundamental research into the nature of carbon. So like, carbon nanotubes, all that stuff wouldn't exist unless we knew how carbon is a fascinating element. Really,
carbon's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It's just right in that perfect spot on the periodic table,
There's so many things attached to so many elements. It's awesome.
It's a wonder element.
Says the carbon-based life form.
Yeah. Yes. Peter Mansfield invented the MRI scan.
Yep.
That's my whole profession depends
very
on
much.
that. Jay, this one really cuts very close to home for you. Hugh Hefner. I know.
His robe and slippers
and
all.
Think about what that guy achieved in his life. It's pretty impressive. But as far as famous people go, though, there's someone else that was much more meaningful to me. Hey, lady! Oh, man. Jerry Lewis at his prime. There was a Jerry Lewis movie that I showed Bob where he's lying in bed and he does something weird and grabs his own head, and it's like the weirdest little maneuver. This is like 30 years ago, Bob. I remember laughing my ass off when Jerry Lewis was young and doing that weird
king of physical comedy.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I love that. There's one scene, I can't remember the movie, but he's his job is to bring the folding chairs into the big auditorium, and there's like thousands of chairs, and they're on rollers, so you can roll out 100 at a time. He goes in, takes one chair off the roller, brings it in, and sets it down, and the guy who told him to do it was just shaking his head. Then he comes back 5 minutes later, and they're all set up. It's a funny bit. But Jerry Lewis is on the list, because we don't talk about every celebrity who passed away, but he ran the telethon for the Muscular Dystrophy Association, the MDA. This is an important organization, obviously close to my work. We have an MDA clinic at Yale where I work. I worked very closely with them for years. And they provide a lot of not only money for research, they provide mainly support for patients, an incredible amount of support of patients with not just muscular dystrophy per se, but a list of 50 or 60 neuromuscular diseases.
Yeah.
And Jerry Lewis was a huge boost to that organization by running. Did you guys remember staying up?
Yes.
For the telethon?
For the 24-hour telethon every year? That was part of our childhood.
We watched that every year.
It was
amazing. Hours and hours, and because the entertainment that would come on.
He would bring out people. The A-list.
Oh my God.
They would
the
turn
stars, one after the other, and then you hold your breath waiting for that rollover, the rollover
the counter
to the millions.
Yeah.
My God, for years we watched that. It's just a weird thing.
It was entertaining.
Yeah, it was. It was fun.
Good man.
Stay up late.
So
That's
guys,
good legacy.
We forgot an important skeptical in memoriam this year, which is Dr. Colin Groves, who actually just passed away November 30th. He, if you don't know, was a professor of biological anthropology. He was a primatologist in Canberra, and he was one of the two professors who described Homo ergaster, and he was an active member of the Australian Skeptics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot of skeptical activists that I could find. If we're missing any, let us know in the comments, because.
Well, of course, we lost. Was that this year that we lost David? Yeah, David Young. That was this year.
Yeah, David. David was, so much to say about him, but in short, David brought skepticism to Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. And Hong Kong, it is a very difficult place to push skepticism. It's very sad. I mean, David and I had talked so much and had a lot of simmering plans that would have taken root this year and next year. So I'm still very upset about that.
And I feel really honored because, of course, I just got back from Hong Kong a few weeks ago. I was there speaking to the Hong Kong skeptics, and then in mainland China to the Dongguan skeptics. And I got to know a lot of David's close friends and a lot of his colleagues. And I know how hard he worked just to make that trip happen. And one of the things that he was really pushing for as he was dying was to make sure that these tours of skeptics coming to visit Hong Kong continue. So I'm really honored that even though I didn't get to meet him in person in his life, I feel like I know him because I met so many people whose lives he touched.
He was a great guy. I mean, he was, I think, the one person that I met in the skeptical movement who just very consciously and conscientiously decided, I'm not in this for my own, fame or personal aggrandizement or credit or anything. I am perfectly content to just to support skepticism, to support other skeptics, just to try to grow, the movement for everybody. Yeah. Was just, completely selfless in his dedication to the skeptical movement. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, really, really, sad to see him go.
And ALS.
Yeah, he died familial ALS. Right. His father died of ALS, and he inherited it, unfortunately. And that's one of the things that, like CRISPR could cure in a year or two.
Yeah. I know. Could you imagine?
Which would be great, but I mean, just would be add a layer of sadness too that he might have missed something like that by just a couple of years. But we don't know, but that's just highly plausible because that is something where it's a mutation in a gene, and if you fix that mutation, it'll be better.
It's gone, yeah.
That's the low hanging fruit, in terms of like CRISPR curing diseases,
we lost our dad this year.
Yeah.
Dad was 86. It's something that takes, you could be years before you digest it and get over it. But, my dad was a heavy influencer on us as brothers and the way we think and the way we talk. And, the vibe that we have in this podcast is derivative of our dinners.
Yeah.
And this was the conversations we had growing up, and that came from my dad.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that mom was a massive influencer as well, but, dad was the sci-fi. Dad was Star Trek to us. Dad was taking us to
I do not want to take away from mom as well, because honestly, from my perspective, our mother and our father had very complementary kind of intellectual talents.
Yeah.
Right?
They were counterparts.
They met, they worked, they basically complemented each other just so well. Like mom is incredibly knowledgeable, about, anything to do with language, very, very, fluent and, very, smart in very certain ways, and dad was not smart in any of the ways that mom was. But he was smart in completely different ways that mom really wasn't.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's incredible. So dad was where we got a lot of just the enthusiasm for science and science fiction definitely came,
without a doubt,
from dad.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
So who else do you have, Steve?
So there's a few other just science fiction deaths that we had this year. Adam West.
Yeah, Batman.
Yes. Batman. But, Adam West had a very active career in the last 5-10 years as a voiceover artist for cartoons. If you have kids,
he was great.
Yeah, if you have kids and you watch cartoons with them, you heard Adam West on a lot of cartoons.
That's right.
It was hilarious.
Hilarious. Often very self-deprecating.
Yeah.
So very good. And then Stephen Furst. Remember who he is?
Babylon 5. And also,
Animal House. Animal House is probably where it first became famous, but yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Pinto.
Yeah. John Hurt.
Flounder. Right.
John Hurt.
Yeah, Flounder.
John Hurt.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh man, we're going to get my wands from now.
Yeah, right. Ollivander and also Alien.
1984.
And
he was the chest burster, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he was the elephant
Man.
Yeah.
Elephant Man.
A very brief stint as the Doctor.
Yeah.
Hey, yes, he did.
Really? Yeah.
Oh, I loved him.
Yeah. No, he's great. He's
great. And Bill Paxton.
Too early, man.
He improv that line, Bob.
Yeah.
Yep. I really like Bill Paxton. He was a cool dude.
And apparently,
oh my gosh, I know.
Science Jay, his
weird
brother.
Yeah.
Chet. Yeah, Chet.
Yes.
That was a funny movie.
So,
yes.
Is there anyone chiming in the comments? Anything that we missed?
Let's see.
Not seeing anything.
Looking at the comments.
Just talk out loud.
Carrie Fisher.
Oh, Carrie Fisher.
Of course, Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher.
That was the end of 16. Yeah. She died around Christmas.
Yeah, but still.
What about her mom? Did her mom pass in 2017? Right after,
Yeah, Carrie Fisher was 2016.
She was one of, arguably she could have been one of, or my first crush. I mean, Princess Leia was so awesome. I mean, that character to me was so powerful. I mean, in the first scene that you see her, she's standing toe-to-toe with Darth Vader.
Yes. And giving him sass.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she's sass at Darth Vader.
Down.
And then when she sees Tarkin, it says, I thought I smelled your foul stench. It's like, I mean, come on. How cool is that?
She had an English accent.
Yeah.
No, she was adorable in that movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
And
we were
14,
13. I mean, right in the peak age.
Yeah. And so capable. My God, she wasn't taking
how many
crap from
strong
anybody.
female roles were there in 1977?
I know.
Think about that.
How many? A hand.
Yeah. And Star Wars, it's almost a joke that like she's the only female character in the whole movie, but
until now,
in that first trilogy, now very, very, very different. The new movies have fixed that problem, but at least she was an incredibly strong character. It's like they go to rescue her and she ends up rescuing them,
right.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
And watching The Last Jedi, the scenes with Leia was more poignant, knowing that that she was
without a doubt.
Yeah,
and I brought my son this year to see. This was our first movie alone. Yeah, this Star Wars movie, and it was important to me. You know what I mean? It was like it was really fun, and it was really emotional for me to see him enjoy the movie, and he's asking me a million questions. It was so freaking cute. And I took him to Target before we went to the movie, and I said, just pick any candy you want, right? I just wanted him to have one of those moments. He just was, oh my God. So he got Swedish fish, but he calls them sweetie fish. And I let him, the fact that I let him hold the entire box, because, it was a movie-sized box that we got. It wasn't like, 5-pound tub of it. It was a box,
Yeah.
Polished one. Everybody polishes off a box of candy like that when you're a kid. But he was so psyched that he had control over the bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it being titrated to him?
Yeah.
I love what I learned from this story is that Jay is too cheap to buy candy at the movie theater. That he takes a trip to Target before he goes to the
seriously, Kara,
these movie theaters.
It's off the rails now. Our local movie theater, actually, it's so bad that if you buy into their Amazon-like membership, they'll give you a break on the candy. Yeah. I spent $10 at Target and had $200 of movie theater candy.
Yeah.
I love it.
Serious.
So really, you're just hacking the system.
I'm p-hacking. That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we go on to science or fiction?
Ooh. Yes.
So I have a brand new science or fiction for this episode.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk about the stats for the year.
Did you include the show we recorded 2 nights ago? Okay.
Yeah. 2 nights ago, no.
What?
But I'll have to.
Oh yeah, Evan, don't give anything away or anything.
Yeah.
We'll have to adjust.
Who won?
All right. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
For the science fiction. All right, I'm going to have my glasses on for this. Item number 1, a new examination of moon rocks finds that the moon has a small but detectable magnetic field.
What?
Now, the theme here is science news stories that you may have missed from 2017.
Okay.
So science news stories that I can't remember us talking about this year. Anytime during the year. Okay. Item number 2, scientists successfully tested an artificial womb on sheep.
What?
Artificial womb. And number 3, astronomers characterized the orbit of the first known asteroid in retrograde orbit around the sun that also is co-orbitable.
I'm adding that to the list, Steve.
Co-orbitable?
Co-orbitable.
With a planet, in this case Jupiter. So, the asteroid is basically in the same orbit of Jupiter and going in the opposite direction as everything else in the solar system.
In the same?
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
All right.
Same orbit, but going backward.
Yeah, retrograde orbit. Jay, you want to go first?
I'll go first. Okay, this first one here. Whoa. Kara, read this. What does it say? Okay. A new examination of moon rocks finds that the moon has small but detectable magnetic field. I mean, that's pretty believable. I wouldn't be surprised about that. But people are probably laughing at me about how little I know about orbital magnetics, right? Is that what they call it, Bob? I mean, yeah, why wouldn't it? I don't know. There's magnetic stuff happening with the moon, right? How does it stay up there? Scientists successfully tested an artificial womb on sheep. Now, when you say on, you mean on sheep or in sheep?
No, out of sheep.
Out of sheep?
Yeah, they took the fetus out of the sheep and put it in an artificial womb, and it was able to survive.
So that's kind of like Neo, like ripping out of the thing. All right, that
like the orcs coming out of the ground.
Yeah, right. What was with that? All right, we don't get into that. Last one here. Astronomers characterize the orbit of the first known asteroid in a retrograde orbit around the sun that is also core orbitable with a planet, in this case Jupiter. Okay, this is really hard. I mean, the one about the artificial womb to me seems like, okay, think about it. The womb has, not just the sac, but it has the placenta, which is the blood barrier. That as a device, if you think about what it's doing alone, is ridiculously complicated and difficult. And you don't need to eat that, by the way.
Ooh, yeah.
That's the part of it that I don't get. And also, wait, then you have an umbilical cord that's feeding the what would you call it? The sheeplet?
Yeah.
The sheeplet?
Sheeplet?
Lamb? The lamb? Yes,
were you not saying fetus because it's banned? I don't understand.
Flam. It's called a flam.
Silence of the fetal lamb.
That's the one where it seems super obvious. Bob, right, Evan? Super obvious that it's the fake, but it's gotta be fake womb outside. They're literally got it hanging in a room, right, Steve? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in the lobby of the building.
Science fiction is so much funnier when I can see Jay's face.
They are all mini panic attacks for me. I can't think of any reason why I shouldn't pick that one. I'm picking that one. That can't be real. Evan?
Well, okay, so you examine the moon rocks to find that it has a small magnetic field. I guess they're able to detect the polarity inside the components of the rocks, right? How it aligns. It aligns in a certain way, and therefore that would be the reveal. Did it actually happen, though? And we missed it?
Yeah, really?
Bob, we missed this?
Bob
didn't miss it. I think that one's right.
I think Bob knows
the artificial womb on sheep, I think Jay brought up kind of a good point there. There's a lot of other things going on than just the womb itself. You need a lot of other supporting apparatus and things going on in order to make it happen. The last one about the orbit of the first known asteroid in a retrograde orbit. Oh boy. Seems familiar. I don't think we talked about it in science fiction. I somehow have this sensation that I briefly saw this news item at some point earlier in the year, so I think that's it. I'm going to go with the sheep.
Okay. Nice.
Bob?
Thank you.
Well, what can't Carrie go?
Go ahead.
Just do it. Don't cheat, Bob.
Bob needs more time.
Look, he puts a weight on it.
Yeah. We know what's going on.
All right, Uncle Bob.
I can see who he trusts the most.
All right, so let's see. The moon has a small but detectable magnetic field. I don't know. I'm not buying that because I thought the core was solid. I mean, if you got a solid core, you don't have a magnetic field, my friend.
That's true.
And how are they detecting that from the Earth? Even if it's there, you're gonna detect such a
on the moon rocks by examining the moon rocks.
I missed the word rocks.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the moon. The moon has a small.
Now see.
You miss one word. Every once in a while, you miss one word.
I know, right?
Yeah.
The whole shit. And then when Steve reveals it and he says the word, you're like, I don't even remember that word. What?
All right, so I got to look at this in a different way now. The moon has a small.
Hurry up!
Still not buying.
Bob, you're doing
Hurry
it.
up, Mr. Womb. You're like spending.
I was teaching you. Okay.
The artificial womb. Yeah, that would be complicated. And impressive. Let me jump to the third one here. Yeah, this one's a little scary. The first known asteroid in a retrograde orbit around the sun, co-orbital with Jupiter. How does that even happen?
His face.
It never catches up.
How does that even happen? No, I can't do it. There we go.
Like this.
There we go, like this.
There you go, Bob. Good job.
Like this.
Right.
Still doing it.
Bob. Write the number 6 with your right hand while you spin your foot clockwise. Your right foot clockwise. Try it.
No problem.
I cannot do that.
Like really
I
hard.
can't even move my foot.
That's called synkinesis, by the way. Inability to separate movements because of the way they're connected in the brain.
All right. So, all right, the moon rocks.
All kinds of crap.
Chucknick.
The moon has a small. All right. Well, wait a second. I mean,
This is what goes on every week, by the way. I just edit it out.
Yeah, you're spared the.
And you're just making it longer.
Yeah.
Now wait. I mean, we have rocks.
Yes, we have rocks, Bob.
We have rocks
Hurry
that are
up!
millions of years old that you could see what the orientation of the magnetic field was millions of years ago. But that doesn't mean there's a magnetic field now. I mean, so the moon probably had a magnetic field at one point when it had a
Sure it did, yes.
The moon has
Bob,
a
you're
small,
boring, Steve.
All right, I'm going to say the astronomy one, I'm just like, such crazy stuff happens. I'm going to say that one is okay. The womb is a little dicey. Well, no, the moon rocks. I'm going to say the moon does not have a small but detectable magnetic
Okay, Kara, you remember them well enough? I made you go last because you can't read them.
Yeah, maybe. I'm pretty positive that the artificial womb is science. I feel really strongly about that one. I mean, maybe I'm missing something, but I feel pretty strongly about one. The other two are bothering me. I do know that we discovered some sort of comet that like passed through all of the orbits this year, like this like comet that like divided all of the orbits of the planet, not all of them, but like the inner planets, and actually entered and exited the inner planets this year. And so that's kind of weird. And maybe this comet one is borrowed from that, and that's what he was changing, and that's why it's the fiction.
Kara,
or you said it was an asteroid.
You're going to choke.
What?
What are you doing? Get that away from your mouth. I have kids. I can't see that near a mouth because I have kids.
I am 34 years old.
I know,
but
but
with a bottle cap.
if you start choking, there's nothing we can do. You're across the country.
Killer, help. Okay, and so then the other one about the moon rock bothers me too. I don't understand a stable orbit going the wrong way. That one's the one that really bothers me. So I don't know. The moon rock one, magnets have always been really tough for me. Magnets are very complicated.
Magnets are a miracle.
I don't trust my ability to separate science from fiction on the moon one. I have a moon meteorite, which is really cool. Maybe I should see if it's magnetic. Maybe I should go to a test. No, I'm going to go with the comet or the asteroid as being the fiction.
Oh, good. Wow. So you guys are all over the place.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That might be it. I think you might have nailed it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So let's start with number 2. We'll go in the middle first. Scientists successfully tested an artificial womb on sheep. Jay and Evan, you guys think this one is the fiction, and this one is science.
How? Come on. What's with the placenta?
Yeah, this is basically an artificial placenta. That's what they did. So they have the artificial placenta so that you could exchange electrolytes and everything that they need, and nutrients and everything. And then they have the umbilical bypass, for the oxygenation.
What's the umbilical cord?
It's connected to a bypass machine so that it's
flexing.
And it worked, and the sheep lived?
Yeah, and they lived. So they're
Jay, it's a machine. It's not like a gooey fake placenta.
Yeah, I know, but even still.
It's basically a bag. It's like a plastic bag. That is the artificial placenta. Then the umbilical cord's on bypass. So they're thinking of, they might go into human trials in a couple of years. Yeah, but
freaking awesome.
You want to see those, Jay?
I mean, that.
Can you imagine you go visit your kid? Hey, baby. It's like.
That's amazing. That is really amazing.
It'd be a very great option to have. I mean, there's,
some women can't have, can't have kids.
They can't bring them to terms. Whether they have cancer, they need chemotherapy, and you have to kill the kid to get the chemotherapy or whatever.
Your kid could be developing perfectly. You can go out and get drunk without worrying about it. Smoke, drink, you're all set.
All right, let's go back to number 1. A new examination of moon rocks finds that the moon has a small but detectable magnetic field. Bob, you think this one is the fiction. Everyone else thinks this one is science. And this one is the fiction.
Yeah.
Good job, Bob.
Move it in.
And you nailed it, Bob, because the rocks are old, so they won't tell you about the magnetic field today.
Nailed it.
But you did nail it. They did examine moon rocks, and they were able to tell by the orientation, that there was a magnetic field at the time that those rocks existed. So that basically moved closer to the present how long the moon did have a magnetic field.
Right.
So the magnetic field had the moon had a magnetic field billions of years ago, but it was for more time than we thought. So it was went up to 2.5 instead of 3.5 billion years ago, something like that.
Suck, Bob.
Yeah.
Well done, Bob.
Which means astronomers characterized the orbit of the first known asteroid in a retrograde orbit around the sun that also is co-orbital with a planet, in this case Jupiter. Is science. It's cool.
That is awesome.
Now this is extremely rare because how? What? Doesn't make any sense.
A collision.
It shouldn't be a stable
Jupiter
orbit.
Grab that thing.
But it's in a resonant orbit with Jupiter, and it's weird because it's three-dimensional. It's not exactly in a plane. So the orbit, it goes it loops around Jupiter, and then it goes like this. I mean, it has a two-orbit kind of resonant
That's
thing.
really cool.
Sweet.
Yeah, so it's a really
Amazing.
weird, but stable, at least over millions of years, orbit. And also, just how do things get going in the wrong direction?
I know.
Pretty much everything.
Collision.
It was probably a collision, just a fluke, that it just happened to fall into this semi-stable orbit that it's been around for millions of years.
All right, so Bob basically did a good job this year.
Bob nailed it.
Yeah.
Well, you want to hear the stats?
Yes.
So these don't include the last 2 episodes, because this is
okay. And this was sent in by who?
These were sent in by Charlie Ross. Yeah. So here's the overall win percentage.
We had multiple people, by the way, send in.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Anyone that sent in stats, thank you
so much. Yeah, but I think I think I copied Charlie's here. So, Kara was in the lead with 62.8%.
What?
62. Do you think that changed today?
Well, you won yesterday. Yeah, you have 50% of the last 2, so you would drop a little bit.
Dropping a little.
Evan, 58.7%.
I also drop a little bit.
Jay, 55.3%. Bob, 52.1%.
I'm in last.
I beat Bob?
It's not.
Wait, I did better than Bob this year?
It's called a mic drop.
What happened?
Technically, I was last at 50%.
Right.
But I only had 4.
Steve was last, Bob.
Bob, stop taking your pants off. What are you doing? Get the hell back over here.
Bob.
All right, solo wins. Who had the most solo wins?
Han.
Oh, God.
Evan.
I did.
Evan, okay.
4.
2? Then who?
Bob at 3.
Yeah, second place.
Jay 1.
Oh, it was so
Kara
sweet, though.
0.
Kara, no solo wins. Wait a minute. Really?
What does that mean? That means that I'm the only, that I never was the only person who won?
Yes, right.
Gotcha.
Solo win, yeah. Longest consecutive winning streak was Kara at 6, then Evan at 5, Bob and Jay tied at 4.
Jay.
The longest consecutive losing streak was Jay at 5, then Bob at 4, then Evan and Kara tied at 3. So, panel performance when answering first. This is interesting. So when answering first, Bob was in the lead at 59.6%.
Nice.
Then
That's
Evan,
the hardest position to be in.
Wow.
then Evan at 57.1, then Kara at 53.2, and then Jay at 51.2.
Okay. So I am influenced by other
50.
people's what they're saying.
But hey, maybe the fact that I have no solo wins means that I am influencing.
You influenced me quite a bit, Kara, I got to admit.
Right? Like when I lose, someone else loses too.
That's right.
So,
that's a damn respectful year.
Who?
Well, he said panel performance when answering first. So I guess when Bob answers first, the panel gets 59%.
Oh, Bob's an
Oh,
influencer.
wow. Oh, that's even cooler.
Yeah.
All right, but individual panelist performance when answering first. So that's Evan at 33%. Wow, you guys all did a third or worse when answering first.
Yeah, it's tough. You don't
It's the
have
hardest position. There's no other idea.
Jay 20, Bob 16.
But not today.
But
I
not
didn't answer
today.
first.
No, you didn't. All right, sweeps.
Sweeps.
I swept you guys 5 times.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
and
great.
Evan swept us once when he was a guest.
Mark Twain.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, and this is really interesting. Well, no, it would have to be this way. You guys swept me 7 times.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys all swept me the same number of times, but yeah, of course. Yeah.
Wow. Good stuff. Good stats.
Well, it didn't have to be that way because you might have missed a sweep. Yes, but you all participated in the 7 sweeps.
Kara, well done in your overall victory.
Yeah, I was going to say, can we just talk a little more about how I won?
Yes.
And
Good job,
Steve, good job, because science and fiction is a hard segment to write.
Yeah, it is.
It could be amazingly laborious
seriously.
on a bad
It
news
takes time.
week or day. You could be in trouble.
There are weeks when I spend more time doing science or fiction than all of my other prep for the show that week.
Oh
Seriously.
my God. Oh wow.
That's tough. But it's such a popular segment, it's worth the work.
Oh, I forgot. What's your favorite noisy from this year, guys?
My favorite noisy?
Yeah.
That instrument one. Go.
I think I
The talking seal.
The theremin.
Whatever the hell that is. Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Horrible.
I liked this one.
Was that a dog or a goat?
Yeah, the dog.
Was
that today? Is that this year?
Did she see? Did she see you or hear you?
That was the voter.
Do the dog, Jay. Do the dog.
Oh, but you know what? I think my favorite one was this one, the La La dog. This was my favorite one.
That sounds like you, Jay.
Oh my God.
That's epic. That's awesome.
So literally,
you guys hear that?
That's a guy. He gets his dog getting in that, and then he goes like this with the dog's mouth. It's
makes it dog.
God.
And I saw the video of that and I lost my shit. And then I did a little research and I found out that this is pretty much what this guy does. He's got a lot of videos of him having his dog say la la. Like, dude.
At some point, you're like, get a life, dude. It's awesome as that.
Yeah, he probably makes more money on those videos than we do on SGU combined.
Yeah, that's right.
$1 million to that guy.
Yeah.
Then the simulated throat. Pink trombone.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's all the really weird, funny shit that I remember.
Wasn't there like a talking sea lion or something?
Yes,
that,
there was. I'm
plagued me
looking for
all
that
year.
one. The beluga whale. Here, this one's great.
Ugh.
The guy on a kazoo.
No, this beluga whale is imitating the scientists that I think were studying him, and he could
So
hear them
creepy.
talking to each other through their their underwater speaking devices.
Mimicking the noise?
Yeah. I love this segment. It's a lot of fun. It's
You
great.
want to keep doing it?
Yeah, do it
Yeah.
for another year.
All right.
But if I do the quote again, if I do go back to the quote, I have to start yelling the names again.
Yeah.
Well,
Some people don't like that, but I love that.
So
That's a youth.
Yeah.
we occasionally mix things up at the end of the year. We use it as an opportunity to go, how are things going? Is anybody tired of doing anything? Is there anything new that we want to do? I don't know. I think we're in a pretty good groove. I don't know that we necessarily need to make any changes, but we're definitely going to think about it. So it's also this is the time where if you have any suggestions or feedback, let us know what segments do you like? What segments do you not like? What changes would you like to see to segments?
Quickie with Bob.
Yeah. Yeah, do you
Oh,
want
Quickie
more
with Bob.
more
I haven't
quickies
had a
with Bob?
Quickie
I
with
used to
Bob in
do
a
Slinger's
while.
List too.
Say the word.
Yeah, we used to have
I
used to do
puzzles.
puzzles,
We could do
right?
puzzles back.
Yeah.
Yeah, or new ideas.
Wait, I've
Yeah,
never
give
done
us some
puzzles.
ideas.
What is this puzzle
This is
thing?
before. This is pre-Cara, PC.
Yeah.
PC pre-care. Okay, so I had a lot of fun doing What's the Word this year. I have done 92 words on the show
Wow,
so
it's
far.
great.
That's 2 years.
But
Well, yeah.
These 2 years. Yeah, exactly. It was not just in the 1 year, but you're talking about this year. But I did make a great list of made-up words that happen throughout the year.
Oh, so explain what this is.
Yeah, you have
give us the
So
context.
this is usually when Jay can't pronounce a word, but sometimes it's when other people say words incorrectly. And also there are words like testicles and, cromulent that are not real words that we use all the time because they've just become funny. But I'm going to stick with the ones that were accidental made up words. And I'm going to tell you where they came from. Jay wins for the highest number of them. I want to see. Okay, so geothermical.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Geothermical is a tough one. Jay, how do you say infectious?
Me?
You say infectious.
Infectious?
Yeah.
What's another one that you did, which was so fun?
Dinosaur name.
Parasaurolophus.
Parasaurolophus. Say it, Jay.
Parasaurolophus.
Yeah.
Parasaurolophus.
Parathermometer.
Julia could say that name when she was 3 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have it down as Parasophilus. That was how you.
Parasophilus. Yeah.
It's
That's much
Paras.
easier.
Yeah. It would be easier. you were trying to say senescence at one point, or senescent, and you said senescent, which was fun. Yeah, senescent. But Evan, you have a couple.
He does.
I know.
Citated.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a real word.
Citated.
Which is a good one. Also, when you were trying to remember tonsil stones, what did you call them?
Lung clams.
Lung clams. Oh, man.
That's a good one.
I've ever heard. I think that's my favorite one. Lung clams is so freaking gross. And then Steve, we just got one from you today. Co-orbitable.
Co-orbital.
Bob, you don't trip up enough.
I don't.
Nope.
One for
I'm
Bob.
gonna be extra. Yeah, I'm gonna pay extra attention.
Did you have any,
might
Kara?
happen.
I don't think you had any this year.
Oh, please! If I had them, I wouldn't have written them down.
That's
on you.
Pay no attention.
She would have erased our memory for them.
Yeah.
Like Rick. Well, guys, this year has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had a great year for SGU. We have a great year coming up, though, guys. We are decoupled from our unbelievably expensive lawsuit. It's pretty much over. January 13th, we're going to really find out, like, when are we going to get some of our money back? But the most important thing is, as soon as it ends, we get our cash flow back to do all the things that we couldn't do over the last 3 years, which is hugely important. We started a new show.
Yeah.
Alpha Quadrant 6. It's a science fiction review show. That one is fun. That show is just fun.
And half the reason we did it was we want to get into the studio every week because we forget how to keep all the plates spinning when we don't do it for too long. So, we pretty much got this down now, I think. I mean, it still feels like, we're on the Millennium Falcon and things are shorting out and we're always trying to get things to work.
The ISP screwed us tonight.
Yeah, so that was nothing that we did. That was not at our end.
That's our story and we're sticking with it.
Yeah. The goal is to do more shows from here. And we want to just do more video and more streaming because the studio works and we want to use it. We have a book coming out in 2018.
That's big news.
Skeptics Guide to the Universe book.
A book tour, a book signing tour.
Maybe.
Right? We'll see.
I don't know. Not necessarily, but there'll be a book.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you guys,
just want to lower those expectations right on down.
If you love the show, if you love the work that we do, please support us. Of course, we need funding to keep going, and the more money we have, the more that we can invest. I mean, Steve and I talk all the time about the day that one of us can go full time. The day that two of us or most of us could go full time. I mean, just
to hire help.
Yeah. But please go to theskepticsguide.org and become a member. There's a link at the top. Become a member. And also we are researching like Patreon for the SGU.
Other options just to get people ask for different options. Yeah.
But if you do appreciate the work that we do, that would be the number one thing that you could do to help keep us going.
And just keep listening, spread the word, tell your friends, tell people who you think might enjoy the show, send us your emails and your comments because we very much want this to be a conversation, interactive, not just a monologue. But thanks for watching us again for another year. Thanks for downloading us, guys. Thanks for joining me every week on the show. It's so much fun, I have to say. I really, as much as this is work, I really enjoy doing the show with all of you guys.
It's our life's work. This is important to all of us. I mean, and Kara, I got to tell you, I love working with you. I love having you on the show.
She's all right.
And to be very fair, Kara has been instrumental behind the scenes since she came on. She's given us unbelievable advice.
Yeah.
To do things. I mean, Kara is a key player on the SGU. And Kara, I love you. I appreciate you.
Aw, I love you too.
Well, thank you all for joining me this week and this year.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
And
Super Friends power activate.
And until next year, this is your Skeptic's Guide to the Universe.
The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe is produced by SGU Productions, dedicated to promoting science and critical thinking. For more information on this and other episodes, please visit our website at theskepticsguide.org, where you will find the show notes as well as links to our blogs, videos, online forum, and other content. You can send us feedback or questions to info@theskepticsguide.org. Also, please consider supporting the SGU by visiting the store page on our website, where you will find merchandise, premium content, and subscription information. Our listeners are what make SGU possible.